And now I have to host the show still. As you can see, I'm looking at a laser pointer because that's a thing that guns have. Joining us is a variety pack. How you doing?
I am doing just fine. Thank you very much.
This is a normal show where Corva Bay is not guest hosting. Definitely not the case. It's me, Kat, Amy. And we're going to do some Bioshock. I've to believe they've made 3 of these.
They have indeed, with some DLC thrown in there every so often.
We can move off the cat cam if you want and start getting into the gameplay. I spent so much time trying to wrangle her for this.
It was worth it.
For this, yeah. All right, no, I think she. Come on, stand. I mean, me. Sorry, wrangle me for this. I've lost my own sense of continuity here.
All right. So
we can start. Okay. Hi, this is AIMBOT. I'm guest hosting for Amy because we swapped for this week. Because Amy was like, "What if I did trivia?" And I definitely did not. Wasn't like, "I'm busy, Amy. Help me." I'm not the usual host of the show, so normally there aren't cats here. Which, if you have a problem with that, then you can you can message at Amerlin on Twitter with the comment, "Why are there not cats opening your show?" You want to start?
Okay. Yes, hello there. My name is A Variety Pack, and today we'll be exhibiting Bioshock Infinite 90% gunless for the Nintendo Switch, and we have a lot to get through today. So I'm actually going to start and count down the timer, and after that I'll do my introductions and everything. So we'll be going in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And go. All right, so yes, this is Bioshock Infinite Gunless, and you did hear that correctly. We will be completing this game without picking up a single gun. Now, that sounds a little bit hard, but we're going to mitigate that a little bit by playing on easy mode. There's a couple barriers to completing this game properly on gunless. Unfortunately, 2 of them are heavily reliant on RNG. So you see the estimate of the category is 3 hours. My PB is 2 hours and 32 minutes, so there's a huge disparity between those 2, and that's because the RNG can simply decide to be mean to you sometimes. One of them involves getting one of the gears called drop cloth, and the other one involves using that gear to actually make a huge skip throughout the game. If you were around by chance to watch my Frost Fatales run of this, you might remember that I ran this game with gearless, which sounds ominously similar to gunless. In gearless, however, we were simply not able to pick up any gears, meaning we were not able to pick up any of those power-ups. We're flipping the switch a little bit. This time, we are allowed to pick up gears, but we can't use guns in the process. Now, the thing with the gears in this game is that they're extremely notorious for being terrible. In any percent and all collectibles and gear and not gearless, anything but gearless and glitchless, there's a specific gear they need to pick up, which is basically just a passive power-up called Hill Runner's Hat, which means that when you break your shield, you speed across the ground with great speed, which is a terrible sentence. I apologize. Regardless.
I mean, that's twice as much speed in one sentence.
It's very reminiscent of the actual effect. However, in this category, we'll not be picking up Hill Runner's Hats, but we will be picking up a gear called Drop Cloth, which makes it so that you get a speed boost when you leave a skyline or a skyhook. That doesn't sound very useful, and generally speaking, you would be correct. That is a very niche effect that you'll only need to use every so often. However, it's incredibly vital for this run. Our first puzzle of the game is going to be taking place with these very difficult bells here. 1, 2. I actually messed it up. Nice. All right. So every single Bioshock speedrunner has actually practiced doing those bells correctly in an effort to avoid exactly what just happened, which is looking foolish by doing it incorrectly. So I guess you got the rare bells mess up, but bonus bells. That being the case, to go back to what I was talking about before, yeah, Drop Cloth doesn't sound very useful, but it will be extremely vital to perform a particular trick. In addition, we'll also be picking up a gear called Sugar Rush, which is Thankfully not one that has any RNG related to it, but lets you have a speed boost when you pick up any food. And there is still RNG elements incorporated in that. All throughout the worlds of Bioshock Infinite and Columbia, there are these trash cans and boxes and enemy drops that can have any number of things. Guns, or ammo, or health, or salts, which is basically magic power. It can have a lot of things. However, with Sugar Rush, it requires food to actually activate to give you that speed boost. And what's dropped by enemies typically tends to be pretty random. So the speed of your run also depends on how many good drops you get from throughout the world. So this makes Bioshock Infinite 90% gunless probably one of the most volatile runs of this game. If you are thinking about picking up this game for any reason, I would absolutely not recommend you start with gunless, even though it's a huge meme. It's just really volatile. You have RNG, heavy RNG with 2 tricks that just prevent you from progressing. There's a little bit of sort of passive RNG that you have to deal with Sugar Rush. And there's just a whole ton of things that you just have to keep in mind. So if you are looking to get into this game, glitchless, gearless, any percent, those are far more friendly. So we have entered the realm of Columbia, which looks very nice and very angelic, but we will soon discover that it is not the paradise that it seems to be on the surface.
What, the, utopian community in a Bioshock game is secretly bad?
Yeah, actually, it's very funny, because you never actually get to see the Utopian Society in Bioshock 1. However, in the DLCs to this game, Bioshock Infinite, Burial at Sea, you do actually get to witness the grandeur of Rapture as it once was. So we're sort of, in Bioshock Infinite instead, going to be looking at sort of the preamble to its fall. So while we have this very lengthy cutscene, you might be wondering exactly how we're going to be dealing damage if we don't have a gun, which, it's a first-person shooter on AIMBOT, so I apologize to Amerlin for breaking the rules a little bit there. But there will still be aiming. Here. It's okay. I promise there will still be aiming in one major way. Throughout this game, you might remember, you can pick up these things called Vigors, which are basically just magic powers, very akin to plasmids from Bioshock 1 and 2. They're, like I said, they have a multitude of different effects. You can throw fire, you can throw crows for some reason, you can pull enemies towards you, you can charge towards enemies, you can push enemies away, a lot of different things. And in lieu of a gun, we're going to need to heavily rely on this as we go along.
Crows?
Additionally, yes, crows. Additionally, you can just, do your good old-fashioned punching. We're going to pick up another gear that actually makes it so that we have a 70% chance of inflicting a electrical status effect on an enemy when we do punch them, which is going to be really necessary because your standard punch is not really going to be all that helpful, but in a pinch it can help you. All right, we have not yet left the angelic paradise setting of this world yet, so we're just going to be doing a little bit of a run down to the baptism scene.
Where am I? Heaven, or as close as we'll see till judgment day. Let's keep such questions to myself, unless I want him.
Now, I will say, as we get to this baptism scene, that those RNG things that I was mentioning, the 2 really big ones, getting drop cloth and then performing the skip that uses drop cloth, those are very prohibitively RNG as opposed to Sugar Rush, meaning that if you don't get drop cloth or you don't get Finkton skip, you simply cannot beat the run. For that reason, I do have 2 backup save files just in case I don't get them in time, so I don't want to bore you all, but I would like it to be extremely hype if I do get it. That would be really, really cool. To sort of keep the engagement going, you might say, I have prepared a list of 20 trivia questions that my community and myself had sort of collaborated on working on, so I don't know if Corvame has any experience working with trivia.
No, I've never once done. I don't know if trivia on the GDQ HotFix will really work, but I'm willing to give it a shot for this. I think that might be fun.
Good. I'm glad that we're on the same page there. So yes, this creature-witting man is going to very aggressively baptize us, you might say, and we'll wake up in this room that I promise. And I'll make the same joke as I did before, has no plot relevance whatsoever. It's just a fun little room that we're just gonna leave and never come back to.
I love things that aren't gonna come back later.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of this word called foreshadowing. I don't know if you could explain to me
No.
what that is. All right, so we wake up after nearly being drowned, and we're actually going to be performing our first skip. This is platform skip number 1. It doesn't really have a name, I think. Bridge skip, perhaps. And it basically involves standing on the right-hand side of the platform that we're going to be seeing, and with a very precise audio cue in the violins, we're going to be performing a jump, so we don't actually have to wait for the platform to descend all the way. It is not too difficult, however, I've been noticing that I've not been doing it very well lately, so hopefully I do get it.
The suspense.
Very nice. I did take a little bit of damage there, but it's absolutely worth it. Well, I say that. That trick only actually saves about 7 seconds. I get a lot of crap from some people in my community who say, why do you reset there? It's only 7 seconds. And I don't know, it just feels really bad to miss. But I'm glad we got it.
No, I feel that. I feel like, is that 7 seconds that like, then you have 7 seconds that you can lose later
Yeah.
if you need to.
That's not looking at the glass half full. That's just looking at it as half. That's
Yeah, exactly.
That's neither positively nor negatively connotated. If we were playing on PC, which, you know, would be really nice because the PC version of this game has significantly more frames with which you can work, you would be able to skip all of this by doing what's called a crouch slide, and using those frames so you don't actually have to watch all of this gondola stuff happen. But because we're playing on the Switch, which is arguably sort of debilitating, we do actually have to wait for a lot of things. That difference between the PC and the Switch is going to come back to bite us again later, actually. There's one of the final sections of the game involves us beating Lady Comstock multiple times. All of that can just be skipped on the PC. You don't have to do any of that. But because we're playing on the Switch, we do actually have to engage in a little bit more combat than the PC version does.
I do like that this is one of the few runs where, like, when you look on, like, the little card on the stream that tells you the game, the console, and the release year is earlier than the release year of the console.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Many people find it baffling that I run this on the Switch, but I'm extremely comfortable with Switch controls, and I'm very happy to be able to run it on the Switch. Unfortunately, this means that I don't have a ton of competition, but I would love some more, so if that's interesting to you, please join the Discord. We're actually going to be performing raffle skip here, by jumping on this sign once, then twice, then backwards, and then forwards, and none of the buildings here have any collision, so we can simply jump off the corner of the world and end up past all of the raffle stuff. If you played this game casually, there's a bit of an uncomfortable cutscene that you might remember, and thankfully we do not have to watch that in this run. There's only 2 runs that we do need to watch it. I believe they are glitchless, for obvious reasons, and then all collectibles, which is sort of a 100% run, but not really. That being because you need to actually pick up one of the collectibles in the raffle.
This is one of the few games where, like, when you clip out of bounds and you're just floating through the sky, it's like, that could just be the regular level design, honestly.
Yeah, it could. All right, so we're actually playing with the DLC, so we have a lot of extra things, extra goodies that we can pick up. The first is that gear that I said that gives us electric powers, and then we're going to be picking up 3 infusions here. Well, 5 actually. Infusions lets you increase your maximum health, shield, or salts, which is basically a mana bar. And because I said we're going to be needing so much magic power, we're definitely going to be putting all of our points into magic. We also picked up a lot of other gears. We picked up Sugar Rush, which, as I said, when you pick up food, like I just did, it lets you speed across the ground. And we also picked up Fleet Feet, which lets you speed up when you're moving backwards or sideways, as well as Handyman Nemesis, which increases damage against the very difficult and very scary Handyman enemies. And because we don't have a gun, it is really, really nice to actually have that extra damage if necessary. So like I said, a lot of this run is simply looking at different collectible places along the ground and hoping that there's food in there. Unfortunately, we're never lucky, so we did not get any of them, but that's fine. On that table, we picked up Devil's Kiss. One of the ramifications of actually doing raffle skips is that you can't pick up Devil's Kiss in its normal location. However, by picking up a vigor anywhere but its intended location, you can actually skip the cutscene that was intended for the vigor when it was intended for that particular place.
Oh god, your health drops so fast.
It does.
Or is that a
but
shield?
shield drops very fast. That's the
Okay.
yellow thing on top. So, for example, there's a very guaranteed apple in that fruit bowl there. And so a lot of this run is just sort of balancing, finding guaranteed food drops and also food drops that are not as, that are more random. We're going to pick up another Salts Infusion here. We're going to smack this guy, hope that it gives us food. He did not give us any food. This is an extremely unlucky run, which does not bode well for the RNG reset portion later down the line.
It's
so.
fine. You're like pre-rolling out all the bad RNG.
Yeah, I hope so. Because if you don't get Sugar Rush, that's okay. But like I said, if you don't get Drop Cloth later down the line, that is prohibitive. You simply cannot defeat the run. You cannot complete the run. Alright, so coming up we have a fight against a crow. If you remember the Houdini Slicers from Bioshock 1, it is effectively the same thing, but this time with melee attacks. And we're going to beat it pretty quickly by throwing 2 fireball traps on the ground, looking at a wall, and then hoping that the crow actually just tries to smack us a little bit. Look at the wall, and there he gets hit. Along the way, we're going to be picking up 2 useless gears, which may seem strange. Why am I picking up these gears if I have no intent of using them? And the reason for that is because of the way that Drop Cloth RNG actually works. We have a little bit of time where there's not too much to say, so I'm going to go ahead and explain that right now. Drop Cloth RNG is very strange. There are 2 tiers of gears, at least in terms of rarity. There's your normal ones, which includes most of them, and then there's a few select rare ones that give you, I guess, better things, at least according to the game. And the problem with that is that Drop Cloth and, coincidentally, Hill Runner's Hat are both in the rare category. Ooh, we got food there, nice. Meaning that the chances of finding them are significantly lower. It ends up being, I think I just confirmed this yesterday, it's about 2 to 3%, and you can mitigate that by sort of lowering the number of chances that you can actually get anything else but Drop Cloth or Hill Runner's Hat. So I'm picking up a couple errant gears on the way, simply so I can maximize my chances, although it only goes from 2% to maybe 2.5%, but we'll take what we can get.
The skylines always felt upsetting to me.
What do you mean?
Like, if you think about people living in this city for real.
I will admit, when I was younger playing this game, I did not have such a empathetic worldview of that. I guess I just thought that it would be really fun to play this game with a fan blowing in my face because of because they're really useful and really fun for combat. And then, unfortunately, we don't get to actually show that off too much in the run. But...
See, I like a zip line, don't get me wrong, but
Sure.
It's just I think the unrestrained aspect of it stresses me out.
No, for sure. I understand. All right, so that we are now meeting Father Comstock for the first time, who is going to wind up being our primary antagonist for the game. But we can't just watch this cutscene. We actually have a small skip that we need to be able to perform. As this gondola rises, and the Zeppelin behind it also rises, we're going to be throwing a couple fireball traps very specifically into this doorway that you see here. After we get over there, there will be enemies that spawn. And if we can take them out as quickly as possible before they actually get to leave the ship, we can make it so that... that was not a good one. We can make it so that they explode, and we don't actually have to complete the fight as intended to open the door. Typically what happens in this game is that if you are... Ooh, I don't know if I like that one. That's fine. If you are in combat, basically, if there's any enemies around that pose a threat to you, you cannot open doors, you cannot activate safes, you cannot lockpick doors, you can't do anything like that. So by doing this, we can make it so that there are enough enemies that are immediately killed so that we can actually activate the door without actually having to beat the entire fight. I normally pick up that gun there, but we cannot for this run.
Remember if you accidentally pick up a gun, but you don't use it?
That is disallowed. You would have to restart a checkpoint, and that actually does become slightly more dangerous as we play through the game a little bit more. So, and I'll be sure to bring that up. All right, looks like we got the skip properly, so we did not have to take out all the other enemies that were sort of accosting us there.
I'm just the prophet, so I don't have to. Amen.
Amen.
Apparently, we're on season 12, episode 76 of AIMBOT, according to that.
All right, we can grapple onto the skyline and make our way to Monument Island. I haven't really been covering the plot, so I'll just take a little bit of time to do that. We play as Booker DeWitt, who has been tasked to come to Columbia to bring us, a very mysterious us, the girl, and wipe away the debt. And we've been instructed to come to Monument Tower to do so. We're going to rescue a girl named Elizabeth, who is going to be our deuteragonist for the vast majority of the run. Although, interestingly, in Monument Island, they actually let you, if you were holding a gun, they would let you see that you are holding a gun. And they would also let you use your vigors, which is a little bit mean on the developer's part, mostly because there's literally no enemies in this place, and anyone who runs this game really doesn't really like this. There's a couple things you can do in the PC version to sort of skip over some of the monotony, but on the Switch version and any other console, you are sort of left to rot, I suppose. Now, it's unfortunate that this is not a marathon run, as GDQ is typically known for, because this would be a fantastic place to get some donations in, but I guess we're just going to have to entertain ourselves for a little bit over May. If you're still there. Uh-oh. All right, looks like I'm on my own for a little bit.
No,
That's
you're
fine.
sorry. I am in fact still here.
Okay, terrific. Oh, this is Elizabeth, by the way. She is basically an amalgamation of several Disney princesses. She has the color scheme of Belle and the towerness of Rapunzel. So, and she really likes Paris. So, she is apparently unaware that she's been trapped here as a specimen for so long. As you comment in chat, once we collect 10 salt infusions, yes, we do actually stop picking up figures along the way. They're just not useful, and for one particular reason, especially in the Hall of Heroes. Normally, if you were playing this at any percent, there would be a lot of death warps that you need to perform, meaning that you would damage yourself down to 0 and then purposefully use that to knock yourself down. There are 2 death warps in Gunless, and we need to make sure that we don't have maximum health or maximum shield, because we need to be able to damage ourselves down to 0 as efficiently as possible. So having more health makes that a little bit more difficult.
Whatever that was, it's got nothing to do with the job at hand.
All right. We're going to have an extended cutscene coming up, where Elizabeth meets us and is initially not super fond of us, but she comes around relatively quickly as she learns that we are her key to outside the tower.
Holy shit. Alright, I can do this.
I'm going to need to have you watch your language. I am not allowed to swear, so please keep it to a family-friendly minimum.
I mean, it's not my show. Amy will get in trouble. Actually, no, I'll get in trouble. I'll still get in trouble. Just kidding. Don't do this.
I won't compromise the integrity of the show. Don't worry.
Okay,
Don't worry.
good.
I can't say anything for Booker, though. Booker might be a bit too generally foul-mouthed to be able to reel it in.
I'm a friend. I come to get you out of
Get
here.
away!
What book is that?
The Principles of
Principles
Quantum
of that-
Mechanics, actually.
Oh,
That actually is relatively, relevant to the run. Relatively relevant to the run, simply because Elizabeth's powers is to open tears into other dimensions, as we saw from that one cutscene.
Stop it! You're too impatient. That's enough.
What about this?
What about it?
We're going to hear a giant screeching noise from outside the tower, which I'm sure is not a problem at all. I think Elizabeth's simply being a little bit overprotective of us, perhaps.
yeah. Every time I walk out, I hear a giant screeching noise. I feel like that always bodes well.
Yes, it implies safety, first and foremost.
It's a way out.
And this is where the sort of the guise of being able to use your guns and your vigors annoys me the most, because clearly there's some sort of threat here, right? And we actually are going to see the threat, but we are simply not able to damage it in any way. So it basically just serves as a way for you to waste your ammo, which is always fun.
Ooh.
Why did you come here?
I'm not a fan of when that is immediately obvious.
Yeah, and you be the judge, actually. When we get to that cutscene, I'm going
Okay.
to point it out, and you can be the judge. So clearly, those sharp claws, okay, there's something that we need to fight. And we get access to our vigors again. Oh my god, it's going to be a huge boss fight. It's been so quiet after this, it makes total sense that there'd be a huge boss fight here.
Everything's been building up to this moment, yeah.
Press the button!
The rising action.
What is all this?
All right, so Elizabeth is going to recognize that she's
All this
been
stuff.
kept as a specimen for a little bit.
Why?
And then you're going to see exactly what I mean.
Here. What am I? What am I?
You're the girl who's getting out of this tower.
So there's the stab. Oh my god, I should be shooting this thing, right?
Yeah, I would also assume that you're supposed to shoot.
Yeah, you
Well-
just literally can't do anything.
It. Yeah, I would assume that. At least it's not on screen for that long. But
Yeah, for sure. But I'm pretty sure that I wasted some ammo the first time I did that. I see another comment in chat asking that if jumping over those shakes does anything. And yes, it can. However, it also runs the risk of perhaps making you run actually a lot slower. It might actually freeze you in place for a little bit until the shakes are over. So generally speaking, we try not to jump unless you're very sure that it will actually be helpful, because it's better to just not take the risk. So Booker makes the extremely intelligent decision to escape the tower by running up it. Not exactly sure what's up with that.
if you are ever in a situation where you are in a tower and there's a catastrophe, you are supposed to, in fact, go down.
Yeah.
That is official advice.
Someone says you shot an elevator at Songbird. That is true. It was a very effective elevator.
Actually, I don't know if that's always true. I think sometimes you're supposed to go to the roof.
Oh,
I
are
think
you?
it depends on your closest means of egress. I don't know. Chat. So whoever is at the chat, whoever in chat is like a trained firefighter, let us know. There'd be like one person in chat who's like, I've been waiting for this. Yes.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
never asked me about this on GDQ. Oh, floods. That's a good reason to go up. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yes, that makes total sense. So after our little brief stint with the skyline here, we're going to learn that Songbird has a very specific weakness, even though we could not shoot it, and that is that he's not a huge fan of water pressure. So we tumble into this sort of artificial beach here, and Songbird's going to try to grab at us, and you're going to see his eyes sort of crack because of the water pressure.
It's a good thing all that debris broke the surface tension.
Yeah, exactly. Also that none of it fell on us.
Yeah.
I know this game is about alternate dimensions and whatever, but at the same time, there's a lot of conveniences in this game as well. All right, we're going to leave this little dream room again. And we are now coming up on the first of the two major RNG things. This is, like I said before, our attempt to get drop cloth. I'll re-explain it just in case there are new people in chat. Drop cloth is a gear that basically allows us to get a speed boost whenever we leave a skyhook or a sky rail. It is extremely crucial for one trick in the game. And by crucial, I mean necessary. And so we have to keep resetting for it here. The only problem is it only has like a 2 to 3% chance of actually showing up. So we have to just keep resetting and resetting and resetting and resetting and resetting until we get it. I have a backup save just in case, which unfortunately does skip one of the fights, but it's better to have a backup save instead of just compromising the entire run. But to make it a little bit more interesting, I do have my community and I have crafted some loving trivia questions for you. So we will read those off and to field some answers as we do this.
All right, so I actually haven't read them through yet. Do you want me to guess?
Oh, sure. You can be part of
Oh,
this as well.
because I'm normally the
We're-
one giving trivia questions.
Yeah, we're turning it back on you
Oh
today.
boy, this is gonna go so badly. I'm gonna get.
Don't worry, it's multiple. I don't know if you typically do multiple choice.
No, we do not. So that.
You don't. Okay, so you get a little bit of an out there.
No?
Please give me stuff. Okay, we actually got food that time. Oh, drinks also counts, by the way. It doesn't have to be specifically food.
So is there for PC? Do they? I know like some games that have very specific low RNG drops that they will use like a mod to guarantee it. Like I believe Octopath has one for that.
Yes, Octopath does. Yes, you're correct. Hillrunners had one. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Bioshock Infinite, when played on the PC, does have something called Hillrunner's Hat Mod, or HRH Mod, which means that you can, you will always get that gear, so you don't actually have to be resetting for it all the time.
Okay.
Obviously, on the Switch, we cannot utilize that, so we
Yeah, I
are stuck
figured that was
in
the case.
we are stuck in reset hell, but they are not. So
All right.
you're going to see the ramifications of that very soon.
I mean, look, I love a reset.
Well, I love when I first ran this game. It was very hilarious to try to get to see when I would get dropped off. But now that I have an actually decent PB,
Yeah, that's
is
Here. Come look at these.
slightly less fun.
Page.
Or perhaps the bird.
Look, I run RNG nightmare games. I fully feel you here.
Do you have consistently 2 to 3% chances to get some checks?
This.
That is, well, that's the grand RNG. The grand total of RNG in the main game I run is worse. Yes,
Oh, good. All right. So
Yeah.
we're all a big happy RNG family here.
exactly.
All right, it's coming up very soon. We need to unlock a door first and learn that Elizabeth is actually really good at lockpicking as well. So I can't think of a single circumstance that would make Elizabeth really interested in lockpicking. But all right, I should say that there's actually the reason why you do it here. We do this resetting here instead of anywhere else is because there's actually 2 gears that we can get in this little segment here.
Would be surprised.
So here's our first try.
All right.
All right, that's not dropped off. And we're actually okay. I should explain a couple things before we actually get into the trivia. Let's do the second one here. That is Hillrunner's Hat, which is hilariously awful because that's the other really rare one. We didn't need that really rare one. We needed the other really rare one. Awesome game. Very cool. Anyway, you're going to see me actually jumping over this catch coin trigger. That just makes it so we don't have to waste an extra 2 seconds every single time we need to do this reset.
Man, the reset loads are rough too.
They are. Thankfully, on the Bioshock Infinite leaderboards, there is now a LRT segment that the mods are graciously willing to do manually.
No, that's shout outs to that. That's a wild dedication.
It is. It's extremely nice. All right, so we're going to be doing some trivia, as I said. So, first question: What
right.
year does the Raccoon City incident take place in Resident Evil?
Okay.
And you have 3 options. Don't worry. A, 1998. B, 1995. And C, 2000.
So I've never played Resident Evil. So I'm gonna go with 95.
95. All right, let's wait till we see some responses in chat coming in. We need to make these last. I only have 20 of them, and we have another RNG trick to go, so we need to make them last. Hopefully we don't go past 10.
It's probably a good idea.
Some A's, 98s, 95.
Okay, you know what? I will say
A's.
this is pretty bad. Yeah, this is pretty rough. Rough reset segment.
Yeah, you've heard the way that I've been performing this run so far, and I must say, this just sucks.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. This is terrible. So we're trying to make it as entertaining as humanly possible.
It sucks they're not like future places or like other places that it could come up.
There are, but this
Okay.
is just the most efficient one because there's
Okay.
2 of them.
But so if you're doing like PB attempts, you could keep going forward and then grab everything and hope that one of them.
That's a good question. My instinct is to say no.
Okay.
Just because all of the other ones are sort of out of the way.
Okay,
You actually
okay.
have to, like, expend effort into collecting them.
It's probably a good idea.
All right, seeing a lot of... I don't see a ton of 2000s, so it seems to be between 1995 and 1998. Someone says, because of the money they use, you say 1995. You can see I'm trying to make these last, because this may
Oh
take
yeah,
a
no, we
while.
got to draw it out.
I don't know how long you typically wait for answers on your own show, but
It depends. We can go for a long time if we need to.
okay. There's also an upper limit to how long I'm willing to actually just sit here and
Yeah.
let this play out, because I do have a backup save that we can use if necessary. I would really not like to use it, but
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
it's never feels as good. for
we
sure.
we have to do what we have to do. One of the runs that I completed in preparation for this, actually, it got awful RNG, terrible RNG. And there's Hillrunner's hat again, which is just a giant slap in the face. Yeah, and so terrible everything, and yet it was still under 3 hours. So, although we could keep resetting, I would not like to bore you all for the rest of eternity. So we will use it when we need to. There's Hillrunner's hat again.
Probably a good idea.
I should just turn this into an any percent run. You know, like,
You're a runner of many hats.
I guess. Yes, each attempt of doing this gets a 2 to 3% chance of getting Hillrunner's. A drop cloth. I have Hillrunner's hat on the brain now. Okay, I will now reveal the answer. It is indeed 1998. A is the correct answer. Raccoon City incident takes place in 1998.
All right, well, I'm 0 for 1.
The person who said that the currency that they use in that game reminds them of an older time, that is actually something that they address in the game. They say, pesetas. That's an interesting currency to be using. So obviously it's an isolated, or at least it's referenced because it's an isolated village that has been infected with a plague. So that means they're not exactly at modern standards.
It's probably a good idea.
Hit us with another one.
Another one? All right. So there is an achievement in the original Dead Rising for getting a certain amount of kills, which is the entire population of the fictional city of Willamette, Colorado. What is that number of kills that is required to get that achievement? A, 46,303. B, 53,594. And C, 61,239.
Well, I only played Dead Rising 2.
Okay,
So I'm gonna go
that
with-
might...
And I think even still, I would not have remembered this. So I'm going to go with B.
B, okay.
I'm going to split the difference.
Found
53,000
Well-
feels like a nice number for a town population.
Yeah, I think so too. I see another comment in chat that asks, is there any other gear that would make this nice? And unfortunately, the answer is no. Drop cloth is simply required. That is just the name of the game here. We see some A's. Oh, actually, this is quite an even spread. I see a lot of A's, some C's, some B's. We've been see the problem with this is that you keep seeing the same the same gears over and over again, which makes it feel even worse because I feel like the chance of getting something many times in a row has to be lower than just 2 or 3% chance to get drop cloth, right? But you know, I think there might be a seeding thing in here. I don't think anyone has done like a true deep dive into the way that RNG works for drop cloth.
Have you ever done the reset autopilot where you get it and then do a reset? Because it's just
No, it's the feeling of elation that you get far
Okay,
supersedes
okay.
that instinct. Someone asked, what does drop cloth do? Very good question, because I realize some people might be joining us. Drop cloth is a gear that means when you leave a skyline or a sky hook, that you get an extra speed boost, and it is required to perform one of the other tricks in this game, which also just so happens to be RNG. So it's just, this run is just an RNG fest, and I'm doing my best to make it a little bit nicer, but there's only so much you can do.
Probably a good idea.
I will reveal the answer. The answer is B.
Yes.
53,594 kills is required
It just
to
felt
get
right.
that final achievement. You're right. That is a good population for a town.
All right, do we want to go with one more trivia question and then see if it shows up for us by the end of that?
Oh no, I'm in this for the long haul.
Okay, all right.
I'm in this for the long haul. So, question 3. In Gears of War, what is the name of the home planet? Sarah, A. Sarah, B. Mino, or C. Reyna?
Oh God, I have no idea.
What sounds like a good home planet to you, Covermay?
A probably.
A, okay.
You've like perfectly hit on like exactly the gaps in my video game knowledge here. It's actually like kind of amazing.
Some C's, a lot of A's. Some C's, no B's. There's one B.
The
lot of
last one was
A's.
B. I don't trust two B's in a row.
Oh, you don't? You don't
Yeah.
think I would do that to you?
I was definitely that kid changing answers because too many of us sit the same in a row.
No, I get it. All right, the answer, as everyone seems to be getting, is A. The name of the home planet is indeed Sarah, spelled S-E-R-A. Question 4. What video game character helped Ford advertise the Focus? 1. Or A, I guess. Cloud from GTA 3. Rico Rodriguez from Just Cause. Or Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid.
All right, Rico Rodriguez is the deepest cut of that, so I'm gonna go with Rico.
Rico, okay, good guess. Let's see what else we get in chat. This is the thing.
That's one I have played. I played a lot of Just Cause 2. Fun fact about Just Cause 2, you cannot 100% it.
Oh no.
It miscalculates. Because my friend did it, but it doesn't calculate correctly if you break every destructible on the map. I believe you get like 99.93%.
Wow, that's extremely aggravating. I hate that, actually.
Yeah. I think there's a mod to fix it, but
Someone asked how long that I would normally keep doing this before resetting. Typically, my PB has a cutoff of 10, so I normally go at least a couple more than that. So I would say about 11 to 12 before I do a reset. Ideally, it's not any more past 5.
and these are 2 to 3%, but with 2 chances.
Yep.
All right. Binomial distribution experts in chat. I don't know how many resets we've done at this point. I don't know if anyone's been counting, but give us the odds. What are the odds to get it by 10?
By 10? Oh, that has to be really low. Also, I might as well just reveal the answer. It is Solid Snake. Metal Gear Solid was the game that was used to advertise the Ford Focus for whatever reason.
Really?
It's probably a good idea.
Colonel, I'm trying to get an affordable car.
All right, next we have in Call of Duty, in the Call of Duty Black Ops series, what does the perk Mule Kick do? A, it gives you faster movement speed. B, it lets you carry an extra weapon. And C, it gives you extra health.
Mule kick?
Mule Kick. What a fantastic name.
What was A?
It was faster movement speed.
I think it's B. I think it involves encumbrance.
An extra weapon? Okay. I like that. We're going to go all the way to my 10th question, and then we're going to reset. Split it up between the two.
Look, if
Well,
worst
not
comes to
resets,
worst
just-
with the total amount of RNG nightmare we run into, I can go into my trivia vault
Ooh,
I can grab some more.
Thankfully, I don't think we need to be doing that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. I appreciate the offer. This literally can go as long as us needing to do that, but thankfully we'll just use the backup saves.
All right, we're getting a lot. Honestly, we're getting a lot of B's and C's.
A lot of B's and C's, okay. Not a terrible guess.
All right. I'm receiving word from our producer that 10 tries at 2.5% is a 23% chance.
23,
Well, you have 20. But you have 20 tries. Wait.
Yeah,
Does this include the
it's
fact that-
20. Yeah,
Yeah.
every single one is actually 2 tries.
I'm not sure if that was priced in here. I'll have to wait to get more feedback.
The answer is B, by the way. It does let you carry an extra weapon.
I knew it.
The intuition you had about encumbrance was actually a very good one.
40%.
All right. Question 7, and I know it's not actually the 7th question, but I did skip one. Question 7. What was Lara Croft's name supposed to be before it changed in the final release? Lara Cole. A. Lara Cole. B. Laura Clark. And C. Laura Cruz.
I'm gonna go with. Cole, Clark, and Cruz. Clark is the only one that I recognize as like an explorer.
There it is. Oh my god. Okay, we're good.
Woo!
All right, we're done.
We're
We're
outta here.
done. The answer was Laura Cruz, by the way.
Okay. Well, I would have gotten it wrong, so that one doesn't count because we got it. Woo! Yay!
All right, we're done. We're done.
What was it that...
All right, now that going back to explaining the run, we actually pick up the coin very close to this cutscene because it makes it so Elizabeth actually follows into this room. It's not exactly certain that she's going to do that, so by collecting it very close to the cutscene, we can ensure that she does follow us through the door.
What happens if she doesn't?
Park's closing, everyone.
Then you can just run back and do it again.
Oh, okay. It's just annoying.
It's just annoying, and we're gonna actually find out that Elizabeth's actually extremely annoying in this run. Especially in one place. When you're running up to the Hall of Heroes, which is the next section of the game,
Yeah, just a minute.
there's this really unfortunate thing that she can do, where she really wants to give you a sniper rifle. However, if we pick up a sniper rifle by hitting the same button that it takes to open the door, you pick up the sniper rifle, which, is run over immediately. So hopefully that does not happen. So yes, we're not going to use any of our vigors, but we are going to be punching a ton of people. So that is the end of that fight. And believe it or not, that's actually the first required fight of the game, since we did all of those skips before.
Stay away from me!
All right, Kate, come on.
Shoot to kill!
All right, Kate.
Yeah, this gate is actually more annoying than you think, because even though the gate is now open for us, we actually have to wait for it to be open all the way. Otherwise, the game is not going to register it as being completely open, so you can't actually pass through the invisible wall.
Right.
That's the thing where it's like, I get it, but it's also, I feel like most players are going to be like running towards that thing,
Yeah, for sure. All right, so this cutscene here has, in any percent, would have a little optimization. Normally after this dialogue, not after this dialogue, but sometimes through dialogues, not this one, that was my mistake. Sometimes through dialogues, it helps to actually damage yourself down to 0 to avoid having to hear all of the entire cutscene. We cannot damage ourselves down, and a lot of the faster tricks in this run require that. So the fact that we can't do that means we have to do some glitchless stuff, some not glitchless stuff. It's a very interesting hodgepodge of different strategies. The only problem is it's attached to this run, so that's always fun.
If you don't draw first.
Gunless, as in no guns can be used. Not only melee weapons, though. You are allowed to use vigors, which is a godsend. Otherwise, we would be stuck here for a long time.
What happened back there? It's not the
We're just we're a boxing mage.
Yeah, basically. What else do you equip besides Drop Cloth? We've covered those things, but I recognize that there might be new people coming in chat, so for those new people, we do have a few other gears that we do need to use. One of the most important ones is called Sugar Rush, which means that when we pick up any sort of food, be it a drink or a sandwich or cake or anything like that, what happens after that is you get a speed boost, which is very, very useful in a speed run. We also pick up ones that let us do electrical damage when we punch enemies. Speaking of electricity, this gate is going to close, and that dialogue that she actually says there is a little bit longer than we want, so we're going to force her to unpick this door without any lockpicks. And this dialogue that she's currently saying is actually shorter than the one associated with this gate, so we can sort of overwrite the intended dialogue by doing that.
Now I'm imagining Booker kissing both of his biceps and going like, "How can you call it gunless when you got two guns right here?"
It's gunless in only a certain sense.
Exactly.
Actually, one of the phenomenal jokes that my chat always likes to make, haha funny, is that Booker in the very opening cutscene actually does pick up a pistol from the box, which I guess would invalidate my run. But
well, it's
thankfully
it's gunless, fewer guns.
Of course, but thankfully you're not allowed to actually use that gun, so it does not count towards the gunless total.
I do like the idea of having an extremely convoluted category name that's like no activated guns or something nonsense like that. Nag.
At that point, you might as well just not pick any.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a long cutscene here where Elizabeth is going to introduce to us the concept of tears. What they basically are portals into, or windows, you might want to think about them, as to other dimensions. We can interact with them, we can pull things through, we can push things in. Later in the game, we're going to be able to transfer entire universes entirely.
I hate these things.
Jeez, just kill it.
But we're just going to get a small demonstration of it right now.
Better idea.
What are you doing?
Opening a tear.
Shit.
Oh.
Again, Booker, your language, please.
I used to open them all the time in my tower.
What is a tear?
It's like a
So she's going to explain basically everything that I just did,
to another world.
but
like when,
slightly more artfully.
Different colored towel or
I do like when we're showing off a game on stream and then the subtitles just swear.
amazing.
Yeah.
I always find it funny.
I mean, I can turn them off, but for the purpose of
keep the
purpose of
subtitles
accessibility,
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing to have.
There is something.
This happened with the inscription run at Frost, where
Yeah.
I just turned to look at it and I just see across the entire screen, just like, oh, you can't say that word.
Yeah. Luckily, we have a bit more restraint than the characters in the game.
But it sure as hell looks like a short.
All right, coming up is a very scripted fight, up to a point. Without a gun, it's going to be a little bit hard to control, but there are things that are relatively standard. The first 5 enemies will be taken out with one fireball trap. One of them hopefully doesn't run away too far, so we can take him out. One of them is going to run into the fire, making him weak. Pick up a little bit of extra salts. Throw it into this, so that's not a required kill, but it does make things a little bit nicer just because it will consistently do damage to us regardless. A few more enemies to take out here. And then we're going to be facing yet another crow, which we will be taking out in the same way.
No.
One fireball trap and a couple punches. There we go. And that should be that.
Take this.
We are actually going to pick up another vigor here called Murder of Crows. I'm missing someone. There you are. All right, that was pretty good. You might have noticed that we did not get a cutscene for Murder of Crows, and that is because, like I said before, if you pick up a vigor in an unintended location for the first time, it just doesn't give you the cutscene, which is really, really, really nice because that's very slow. You were intended to pick up the Murder of Crows vigor all the way back when we defeated our first crow, but since this is our second one, it will not force the cutscene upon us. We are now going to make our way up to the Hall of Heroes, which is the place where we need to get Shock Jockey. That one switch that we pulled all the way back there is not going to activate unless we have it, so this is basically just an entire side quest to get one thing, which, is fun in its own way, I suppose. All right, got a little bit of money. Yeah. If there was early shock jockey, this run would plummet in terms of how much it takes. All right, coming up, well, in a little bit, is going to be one of the only skill-based tricks in this run. The other ones are just RNG, basically. So hopefully I can at least get that one first try. We're going to fill up on salts here. And like I said, there's just a lot of stuff they need to do in here, but just makes this a really lengthy side quest. There's going to be some enemies that come from this door, so by throwing a couple fireballs there, one fireball here, as well as one crow trap here, we can basically incapacitate enemies from ever from ever posing a threat to us. If you were playing on any percent, you would be getting some weapon upgrades here, but we have no such weapons to upgrade.
Look, I see you're caught up in some kind of jam.
It is very funny. I assume that you and Amy planned to do this category on this show specifically on purpose.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Don't worry, there's still a crosshair. We're still aiming.
No, I agree. First-person punchers count.
First-person punchers do count. All right, so it's going to take out the vast majority of the enemies, and this should take out the remainder. There we go. Get yet another salt infusion. Pick up some money, as well as a lockpick, because there's going to be a save that we do actually want to get later down the line.
Just give us the shock jockey.
And to make our way to the second half of the Hall of Heroes. Basically, it consists of two sort of exhibits, I suppose. One that covers the fake history of the Boxer Rebellion, and one that covers the fake history of the Battle of Wounded Knee. We are only going to be doing one of them, though you might remember doing two of them.
Oh, I read about this.
To prepare for this fight, we're going to throw some fireballs over here, just to make sure that no enemies get a little bit too close to us. Hopefully that should work. If it doesn't, we'll find out. There they go. And there's going to be a new enemy, in quotation marks, called a fireman. Firemen throw fireballs, so they're immune to fire, which is a fantastic sentence. But if we punch him 8 to 9 times, then shoot him up with Bruck and Bronco, and then kill him, he will die instantly, as opposed to sort of making us wait too much. And now coming up is one of the only skill-based tricks in the run, called Hall of Heroes Death Warp. Basically,
All right.
we're going to be performing a Death Warp, which basically means that we're going to be jumping and using our damage down to 0 momentum to carry us through collision.
I remember seeing this when doing CrossFit Tells.
Indeed, but normally with that, you have a gun. You don't have a gun, so you have to let this guy sort of beat on you for a little bit to knock you down to 1 HP. So we're just gonna stand here and let him take his blows for a little bit. We also changed the difficulty to hard to make that process a little bit more efficient. We do not want the health from Elizabeth. That just makes things slower. All right, that's 1 health. Let's do our setup here. And there we go. First try.
Yeah.
Very good. Turn our difficulty back to easy. We definitely do not want to be on hard for the rest of the run. And we've made it to the second half of the Hall of Heroes. Yes, normally you would have a rocket launcher to do that with, an any percent or gearless, but without that, you have to do that very roundabout way of performing that skip. That Death Warp makes it so we don't actually have to watch this gigantic cutscene where Elizabeth unlocks this door. It also skips the second half of the exhibit portion.
If the door won't unlock itself for you, you just go right through it.
Yeah, we actually need to be really careful there.
Get to these bars, but you're too broad.
As I said during Frostbite Halls, if Elizabeth finds you to be in combat for whatever reason during that section, she simply will not unlock the door, which means you have to do that trick all over again.
Oh, fun.
I'm very careful not to engage in any violence during that section. I'm just gonna let her do her thing in peace.
Well, that's convenient.
As I said, it's a form of wish fulfillment.
All right, you might remember this cutscene from the Frostbite Halls run as well. We actually skipped over this cutscene, but we had to watch it after we needed to watch it, which is weird. Don't worry about it. It involved another death warp. But because we can't actually do death warps in Gunless very easily, we have to actually just watch this cutscene at its intended location, which as a speedrunner is gross. But, you know, that's okay.
Not sure I understand this, but I'm not complaining.
We're just trying to get. We need to know all the lore.
We do. And it's in the proper order, might I say.
Yeah.
That's also very important.
No memento nonsense.
Exactly. All right, so coming up here, we have our first fight against the Iron Patriots. This one looks very scary, and it gets a very fancy introduction. But if you place 6 fireball traps on the ground, it will not remain very scary. It will hopefully go down in one shot.
Yeah, fireball traps seems real good.
They are. They're the vigor that we use most often to deal damage, other than our gun, other than our punch. Not our gun. Not our gun. I'm not cheating, speedrun moderators. I promise. So Slate is going to go off in his whole spiel, and we're just going to air one more trap, wait for his health bar to show above his head, and take him out very quickly. And there we go.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I mean,
a lot of fire.
To be fair to the Iron Patriot, I would also not be doing so hot if I
No,
were
you
hit by
actually,
7 fireball traps.
I would be very.
Oh yeah,
I'd be very
we'd
hot.
be extremely hot. That's a good point.
He's coming for me. And when I'm gone,
Are we getting near a point where we could take our first break?
Our first break might be
It's done.
in a bit, if that's okay.
That's fine.
The whole place is ransacked.
So we're gonna find that all of the shock jockey has been misplaced. And we're actually going to use our lockpicks to get a little bit of extra money. Money is typically not a problem in this run, but I just want to be extra safe for the acquisition of it. We're going to be doing exactly what we did with the doors at the beginning of the Hall of Heroes and sort of pre-plant some fireball traps onto certain doors so that those portions of the fight can be instantly defeated, so we don't actually have to make our way up there and waste extra time.
Comstock's coming, Booker. But our lives won't satisfy him. Oh,
Pick up a little bit of extra salts, use our speed boost from Sugar Rush to get back there very quickly, and throw a couple more fireballs onto that door.
I do like that a lot of this run so far has been playing basketball.
It has. It's not the last time either. All right, we know exactly where all of these enemies are going to spawn, so we can throw one fireball up here, take those 2 enemies out. One enemy's going to jump down here. We can't get to him in time, so we punch him. And throw a fireball at this guy. Weaken him so we can take him out in one punch. The next set of enemies is going to come through this small door here. Throw one trap on it to take out most of the enemies, and then we have another fireman enemy, which if you remember is punch 8 times and then do the final one. So punch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Guys having a bad day.
7, 8, and there we go. Here's our 9th out of 10th infusions, and also a little bit more money. So if we did our job correctly, all of these enemies that come through this door should be instantly removed. Fingers crossed. Sounds like it. There, good. So our first break would be great after we leave the Hall of Heroes. So that's going to be coming up in just about 2 minutes.
Cool. Just when we get there, count down to a pause. So
Can do. If only they lined up very perfectly with my RNG trick so I could just reset and go to my other file with them, but no. I will not have such luck. Alright, this is Slate. This is the person we've been chasing through the entire chapter. And we have a choice to kill or spare Slate, but sparing him is indeed faster, so normally I would give any choice of this game to chat, but that's just objectively faster. we're going to pick up Shock Jockey, which, if you'll remember, was the entire reason we came to this location. So after so long, we have accomplished our goal.
I feel all of the plasma stuff seems really bad for you.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, they're basically plasmids from Bioshock 1, which, if you
Yeah.
remember, caused very degenerative effects in their body chemistry. So it's actually very important that when we did that death warp, we did not actually go too far. If you go too far, which is very possible based on a critical hit from the enemy, you're actually locked in the Hall of Heroes and you cannot escape this door. But thankfully, we did not go very far, so these bars that you'll see on the door just don't have any collision.
Okay, Chad makes a good point. If it was faster to kill him, would the cutscene use a gun?
Oh, that's a good question. I literally don't know. Anyway, we have a countdown from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, and that is the first segment of the game.
All right.
I guess
We'll go to our
for
first
it.
break here then. But before that, we have a couple announcements. SGDQ 2023 is coming up May 28th to June 4th in Minneapolis, Minnesota. If you're interested in attending the event, registration is now open until May 3rd. Offsite volunteer submissions also are now open until March 22nd. Go to GamesDoneQuick.com for more info. Also, Games Done Quick is returning to PAX East 2023 from March 23rd to 26th. That's this weekend. Be sure to check out the speedrun stage if you're interested in watching some speedruns or playing through a gauntlet of mini speedrunning challenges. Don't go anywhere. We still have a whole lot of Bioshock Infinite to go and a whole lot of guns to not use. We'll be right back. Definitely, that's the case for sure. We're not shooting things this week. Sorry if you came here for guns. This is gunless. No guns allowed. There's so few guns that the normal host was like, "This, I hate this. I have to step away. If I don't see a gun, I can't be on the show." Upsetting. But we're having fun, so I think it's worth it.
All right, let's get back to where we were. We just left the Hall of Heroes, and we got Shock Jockey, which basically lets us do that to enemies, as well as activate switches that require it. Unfortunately, one of the things that does require it, is just the progression gate for the game, so that's a little bit unfortunate, but we're going to wait here for some of the environment stuff to be on its way. And we're going to hop all the way down here with our skyhook so we don't actually have to go around the intended method.
Nice opportunity to just get a take in the sights.
Yeah, the very cloudy sights.
You're synchronizing to your environment. It's like Assassin's Creed. That's what it is.
Of course. Although, it is strange that the area that I'm sinking myself to is also the sky.
Well, look, you can only do so much.
That it would be better if that Patriot actually did hit me. That's an extremely small time save, but if that Patriot does hit you, it sort of pushes you forward and saves you like maybe 1 second. So if you're going for optimization, that is another RNG thing that this game has for you.
When I was younger, I didn't just open the ones I found.
So now, after all of that time, we are finally going to activate the switch that we were looking for. But we can't actually make it up to the Hand of the Prophet. It's not the Hand of the Prophet, it's just another airship. The airship, until we complete yet another required fight, which also has a very fun way of doing it. On gearless and any percent, there's a very fast and very rigid method of doing it. Gunless, we don't exactly have that same luxury. So if you like punching,
I'm leaving, and there's
ideally you see a lot of optimal punching. But not before we have to take out these rocket launcher enemies on these airships here. Thankfully, as they come closer to us, we'll be able to Skyline attack them. Skyline Strike, I believe the name is. And we're gonna hit them with one Devil's Kiss and then start punching them to death.
Skyline Strike sounds like a Pokemon move.
We actually got it. The very rare one-shot critical hit. I'll take it. Where'd the other one go? I can't find them, and that's a little bit scary, but we're going to assume that they're dead. Jump up here and hopefully we can do the same thing. He fell off, so I'll take it. And he also fell off. Okay, they're both dead. Coming up, we have a little bit of a spawn camp to do against 5 normal enemies. We can take out the first 2 by placing a couple fireball traps to land on their landing spot. And the remaining 3, we're simply going to be punching them. So there they come. They are blown up. And the remaining 3.
What
will
a
be...
undignified way to go out.
Yeah, it kind of is, honestly. But, you know. It is what it is. These next enemies coming here, normally we would be using our gun to take them out, but because we don't actually have that, we're going to be using a very interesting strategy where we just sort of punch them off the skyline over and over again and hope they don't leave. I think we got that first one. Yeah, that's the first phase. So we have another one here. Take out the first one, and hopefully take out the second one here. There's going to be yet another one. I hear someone shooting at me, but that's not going to end up being too big of a deal. And there's the third segment of them. They're doing the thing, unfortunately. That can happen where the enemies simply just decide to leave and do that instead, which is not a huge deal, but it's a little bit slow. So we are going to unfortunately have to chase after them. I don't see the other one.
I thought I saw one on one of the skylines.
If that's the case, then we're going to sort of take this opportunity to start taking out the Patriot that's going to be making its way down with some precise shots from our Devil's Kiss figure. It should be out in not too long. And there's 3. There it is. All right. So now that we have a little bit of extra time, we can take out the ones manually. Do I hear the fight complete sound? Nope. There they are.
Get behind him!
Please don't get behind me.
Surround him, quick!
Hello?
Push him out!
Okay.
Take this.
Thanks.
Yeah, this is just something really unfortunate that can just happen in Gunless. Alright. With that out of the way, we can have Elizabeth unlock this door. And to make our way to the second section of the game, which is Finkton, which is unfortunately home to our second big RNG trick, but I'll get to that when we get there. This is actually the cutscene that I was talking about before. Normally you would have a rocket launcher that you could use to damage yourself down to 0 and skip a lot of the dialogue here, meaning that you would spawn all the way at the top of this little gondola ride. We don't have that rocket launcher, and we have no easy way of taking ourselves out, so that is something that is just not available to us.
It was a fine thing you came along when you did.
How do you think I ended up here? I gambled, and now I owe money to men you don't want to be in debt to. I come here to pay it back.
Someone just do a little bit of leapfrog here, I guess, because that's the time.
Who sent you?
Somebody who was willing to take my marker in exchange.
There is a thing that can actually happen that's random, as far as I know. This door can just magically be open, which is very nice because it lets you leave the gondola before the game actually opens the door for you, which ends up saving, I believe, around 7 seconds, but as far as I know, there's no way to control that, and normally you'd be having a death warp here anyway, so it's not actually that useful. Alright, so before we actually leave this area, we should have enough money now to purchase one of the first vigor upgrades, because they weren't powerful enough, so we're actually going to be buying Devil's Kiss Aid. This is a very, very expensive thing, but what it does is it makes it so when I throw a fireball, it actually sort of catapults out into shooting even more fireballs, so it's extremely good for DPS.
So,
There's going to be one enemy in particular, or I guess one enemy fought 3 times, that's actually going to be really, really helpful for, so
how do you figure they'd know you?
it's a good thing we get it now, because we will be picking up another vigor upgrade for it later.
Them that hired me also wrote the signs.
Pick up a little bit extra money, pick up our final Salts Infusion, and make our way to the second section of the game.
You all right?
So with the final infusion, what does that give us?
I want to see.
So now we have the maximal amount of
There's no one.
vigor salts that we can possibly have in this game.
Okay, it's mana tank.
That's not
Mana tank, yeah, maximal mana tank. And like I said, you can technically start getting health and shield upgrades now if you really wanted
There's a
to.
fellow.
This is slightly problematic. There's actually one more death warp that we do need to perform, and as you might expect, performing death warps is really convenient to have as little health and as little shield as possible because it makes the death warp a lot easier to perform. Even beyond that, though, from now on, all of them are going to be sort of hidden away in very coveted locations. Like you have to unlock doors now, and you have to like find them in weird rooms and stuff like that. Find them in chests, and it's just not worth doing it. So we will not be picking up any more infusions in this game, despite the game really begging us to do so.
So what do the other two do?
One of the other ones increases your maximum health, and one of them increases your maximum shield.
Oh, they're all okay. So they're all just tanks. None of them are like damage or anything.
No, that it would be interesting if there was a passive damage buff for all of your weapons, but there are actually in the same way that there's vigor upgrades, there's also gun upgrades. So I think that sort of carries the necessity for that.
Yeah. Bad news about that though.
Yeah, I mean we can still buy them, which is hilarious, but we just won't be able to use the upgrades that we got.
100% gunless sounds very funny. We have to get all the upgrades, but you still can't use a gun.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. One of the mods in the Bioshock speedrunning Discord is now thinking about doing 100% runs, which actually don't exist. It's replaced by something called all collectibles, which is basically you get all the vigors and you get all the voxophones and you get all the infusions and stuff like that, but there's not a 100% run yet where you have to get all the upgrades. The main reason for this, as far as I know, is that all the upgrades cost a ton of money, and money is not guaranteed from every drop. So there's a little bit of RNG fest, as well as just a lot of hoping, just a lot of grinding, basically. So that sounds less than fun sometimes. So props to him for wanting to do that. But I'll stick to my all collectibles.
Yeah, that's fair.
The Vox. Down in Finkton, there's a gunsmith who can supply weapons to our cause. We get our guns from him.
This is Daisy.
Go ahead.
All right, so that's Daisy Fitzroy, who is basically telling us to find Chen Lin, a gunsmith in Finkton, who will buy her guns for her uprising. Unfortunately, we will not be meeting Chen Lin, so we will unfortunately fail her mission. But we will make our way over there anyway. First by performing that little movement skip so we don't have to go around the pillar. And then by performing pipe skip, which you can do by jumping off of this railing and just foregoing the need to go around to the right side. You might have noticed that Elizabeth is not exactly all too happy with us. We promised Elizabeth that we would be taking her to Paris, and upon learning that we were deceiving her, she did smack us with a wrench, rather justifiably so, if I may say.
Yeah, you get smacked by a wrench, and then you get like tossed out and land directly on your back.
It's okay, we have a shield.
That is true, okay.
So now we will be chasing after Elizabeth to try to get back to her. She is understandably pretty upset with us, but a weird theme with this game is that Elizabeth will sort of be upset with us and then sort of get over it, which is interesting writing, but whatever.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of interesting writing feedback about this game.
Well, just wait till we get to the end.
Yeah.
That'll take years of explanation that I'm going to try to condense into literally 10 minutes, so wish me luck on that. Alright, so coming up is yet another required fight, and it is one that is also pretty scripted. Although, without a gun, it's a little bit harder to make it consistently consistent, if you know what I mean by that. There's going to be a lot of enemies on the floor, and we're going to be taking them out with fireballs if we can aim properly. So, as a speedrunner, hopefully I can do that. There's one, there's two, and there's three.
I think it's worth reiterating for anybody who's not aware that Variety Pack is doing this on controller.
Yes, this is all controller. And funnily enough, you do get relatively generous aim assist with guns, but you do not get relatively good aim assist with vigors. So a lot of this is free aims.
You could have fooled me.
All right, here's part 2 of the fight. We're going to want to take this thing out as fast as possible because it just does a ton of damage. And with our vigor upgrade, that is not going to be too hard. All right, there you are. Please don't leave. Thank you. And there you go. There should be one more enemy that escaped up here, but we can skyline strike them pretty easily. And that's the fight. Very nice. Elizabeth is still going to try to escape us, so we're going to actually catch up to her, but the game does not intend for us to catch up with her. So instead, we're going to be accosted by this enemy called a handyman. We're actually going to have to fight a couple handymen, which is unfortunate because they do a ton of damage, although you'll remember at the very beginning of the run, we picked up an extra gear called Handyman Nemesis. Now, for all intents and purposes, Fleet Feet is technically better because it gives you a movement speed boost. However, when you're fighting handymen, without a gun, it's extremely difficult to hit them in their weak point, which is the center of their stomach. So we want to make sure we have additional damage on those handymen via the gear. Otherwise, they'll just take a lot longer to kill.
Well, it's convenient then.
I'm slipping.
Do not attempt to
It
follow me,
is.
Mr. DeWitt.
Elizabeth, I've made an arrangement to get our airship back.
You can get us out of here.
Yes.
I'm actually going to do something that I've never done in a run before, but just for safety, I'm going to be doing it.
From one of our many friends and
Behind us is a sort of gondola that you're supposed to lockpick and get the rewards inside. But I'm going to be a little bit of a cheater, and I don't know if they planned this, I don't know if this is intentional, but if you run to the left-hand side of the gondola, you can just pick up the items through the window. I'll show you what I mean. It's very strange that they allowed this. So there's the door you need to lockpick. But by just jumping over here, you can just sort of, not that, but by jumping over here, you can sort of just pick up this money. So thanks for the dollars, I guess.
I'm going to assume that was not intentional.
I'm going to assume it's not either, but I like to think it was sometimes. Alright, so we're going to make sure that we're stocked up all on salts before we head in. And to make our way to Finkton. The fights in here are also relatively scripted, but again, because AI causes enemies to move in very specific and very random and erratic directions, it's not always super consistent what you get. For example, it would be nicer if those enemies were taken out in one hit, but, you don't get everything you want in life. We're also going to throw a couple fireballs onto this door here, because there will be backup coming in this next fight, so we want to make sure that we take them out as early as possible. Throw one more down there just in case, and take out the enemies down here, first of which being a Patriot. So hopefully we can stun him and then hit his gears, because the gears are the weak point for the Patriots. So we do a little bit of punching here. There we go. And now we can take out the rest of the enemies. You might, if you're coming to stream from somewhere else, you might notice that a lot of my punches are hitting them with electrified damage, but not all of them. And that's because we picked up a gear called Electric Punch, which means there's a 70% chance that a punched enemy does actually get electrified, but not a 100% chance, which is
That's
just really, really fun.
Yeah, that's like high enough that you're like, okay, well, why not
This is my mother's diary.
just make it that?
Why would
Yeah.
Slate have it?
Yeah, it's a DLC one. There's actually one called Electric Touch, which makes it so that it's a 50% chance, which is a little bit more reasonable. But 70% chance, you're like, okay, well, you should reasonably expect to get it every time.
Be raised under this roof.
Ooh, actually, let me do. Okay, fine.
She had me locked in that tower.
Elizabeth is going to realize that
I just
her mother
wanted to
locked
get
her in
out
a
of this
tower, but she's not exactly sure for what
Please.
reason yet, so I'm sure we'll uncover that by the end of the game.
I saw Tangled. I know what's going on.
Yeah. Alright, so I need to explain what's going to happen next. I'm going to go into my menu and equip drop cloth, which is that thing that we were resetting a ton for before. And we're going to be performing think and skip. Now, I said that this trick was RNG. What we basically need to do is use our skyhook, hook onto a hook, great sentence, and then sort of jump off in such a way onto the roof where the extra speed boost added from drop cloth makes it the way that we get jettisoned up onto a platform that's not intended to be reached. Normally, this would not be a problem. On the PC version, you have a lot of frames and you have a lot of things to do pixel perfect or frame perfect things. However, on the Switch, we have A, a variable frame rate, and B, a frame rate cap of 30. So actually getting a very precise frame in pixel is really, really hard. So while in effect, this is not an RNG trick, it becomes an RNG trick because of hardware limitations.
That is painful.
Yeah, it's pretty awful. So, as we do this over and over again, we have more trivia questions for you, but thankfully, this is the last really major RNG thing I've run. So, if we can get past this, we can get through anything.
All right.
We'll wait till we actually get to the bottom to start the trivia, but yeah.
You're not even gonna give it a try before you start the trivia, just in case. First try.
If I get this first try, I promise that I will donate $100 to SGDQ. I'll be the first donation.
You heard it here.
If I get it first try, then I will donate $100 to SGDQ. That literally will not happen. But
I like the well, I want to do a pop-off donation, but this isn't actually a charity marathon.
Why is it that we get paid in
yeah, so it's a delayed donation. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I like it.
I'll tell you what, I'll be damned if I let any of you poor folk get robbed at some...
So you might be wondering why I bother running this category at all. And the answer to your question is I don't know. From the drop cloth RNG to doing this trick, which is terrible. It may seem very strange that I would want to do this constantly. And the answer to that question is I hope to not have to do this for a while after this event. So hopefully this is a good display regardless. We got the skill-based tricks first try, which I'm very happy with.
But Mr. Fink's interest is strictly in the gentleman.
That's the thing, with very RNG heavy runs.
But any
It's about a lot of it's about getting this being super consistent on the reliable stuff, so that when the good RNG does show up, you don't squander it.
All right, here it is. First try. No, okay.
All right.
So if you like watching me do this over and over and over again, then you're going to have a really killer next 20 minutes. Hopefully not that long.
Oh,
but
man.
Yeah, it's just this over and over again, mashing yourself against a wall, hoping that drop cloth activates at the proper time so you can get up to this ledge here. It's just soul-crushing. And
I wasn't aware that it was specifically a switch, not RNG on 60 frames. That makes it a lot more painful, yeah.
Yeah, so here's the thing. You might remember from the Frostfade Halls run that I did, if you watched that we did not have to do this. And you're like, well, this seems like a really important skipping the second act of the game. Why don't you do this in that run? And the reason for that is we don't need to, because we have another way of actually skipping the entirety of the second act using a death warp and doing a very precise jump over there. We can't death warp in this run very easily, so we do actually have... Thankfully, we have another way of doing it. Unthankfully, it is just not very consistent in the slightest, so...
Yeah, it's unfortunate that, none of your vigors will deal damage to you.
No, I know. If there was a way to consistently do damage to yourself, then this run would be solved. But until then, which I'm very doubtful that it will ever happen, we are stuck doing this for the rest of time.
Just get Elizabeth to throw another wrench at you.
Oh, that was actually really, really, really close, but the game just didn't want to give it to me. You can see how heartbreaking this is, I hope. And why I just hope to never do this again.
Was it based around your position of the aim reticle, the target reticle?
Good question. The targeted reticle is actually not super precise. That's not a huge problem. The main thing you want to make sure that you are is flat on the ground. That's really the only stipulation. But other than that, it's just if you get the speed boost on the right frame or not.
Gotcha.
Because if you, for example, if you did it too far up here, then what would happen is that you wouldn't have enough sort of momentum to carry yourself up to the top.
I guess at least more attempts is faster than the last thing.
That is true. And that was also really close, but the game just stopped giving me drop cloth because of the frames. All right, so we have some trivia here.
All
as we
right,
move
hit us
on.
up.
So, in Guilty Gear, what is Soul Bad Guy's real name? A. Frederick Bulsara. B. Colin Vernon. Or C. Gabriel Paradigm.
I believe it's A.
You think it's A?
I believe it's A. I have not. I'm pretty sure it's A.
What makes you think that?
Just vague recollection of Guilty Gear lore.
Okay. Yeah, I see a comment in chat as we're waiting for responses to come in. Yes. I mean, you have to imagine what it looks like for everyone else who is watching Booker do this, and you have to realize that it's already crazy looking that I'm doing this, sitting here in this room, mashing my B button over and over again, hoping to get on top of this railing. You can only imagine how terrible it is, or strange it is for an actual person in this situation to be watching it. All right, we're getting some responses. Oh my god.
I'll be down here.
This is, as soul crushing as resetting for drop cloth is, it's not as soul crushing as this, because there's technically a little bit of thing that you can do to mitigate the terrible chance of drop cloth. There's nothing you can do for this. You are stuck. All right. And no, there is a consistent setup if you're doing this on PC. To my knowledge, I don't run this game on PC, but on Switch, the interaction with the frames and the speed and the particular gear that we're working with is just not. There's nothing that we can really do. See, that one was pretty close too.
Yeah, that felt good. And then
the answer is A, by the way. You are correct.
yes,
Frederick Bulsara is the real
that's
name.
the one that sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, do you happen to know why that is the case?
Why that is his name?
Yeah.
I do not remember.
This came from one of the members of my community. A lot of the names of Guilty Gear are named after famous musicians, and that's in reference to Freddie Mercury, whose real name, or whose one of his aliases was Mr. Bad Guy. So that's where Soul Bad Guy comes from.
God, if people in chat haven't read up on Guilty Gear lore at all, I highly recommend it. It is. Honestly, it's just an incredible time.
Yeah, I think what also makes this trick far worse is the fact that it actually puts a physical strain on you, because you have to mash B. Oh, I should also mention, I didn't actually say this, but not only are you hoping that drop cloth activates properly, you also need to mash B to actually get the jump properly. So I'm just mashing B every single time that I do this, which is really close to.
It rules that your reward for getting the super low RNG thing is to do this trick.
Yeah, that does check out actually. All right, next question. We have some Pokemon trivia for anyone who's really into Pokemon.
All right, that is my area of expertise.
All right, what is the only Pokemon with the ability Long Reach? You have three options. It is A, Tangrowth, B, Decidueye, and C, Ambipom.
Decidueye.
I'm assuming you know this one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a hidden ability.
Well, maybe. I don't think it is. It in Legends Arceus? I don't actually know.
Yeah, because the starters always have
Overgrow.
Yeah.
So yes, the answer is indeed Decidueye, B. Yes, for the people who just came in, I'm attempting to do this very terrible skip. This is called Finkton Skip, and it requires the use of Drop Cloth, which basically gives you a speed boost every single time you leave a skyhook, much like this one. You're basically trying to make your way up onto this top railing here, and by using the speed boost garnered by it. The only problem is that it is basically RNG and hardware dependent if you actually get this skip, because it's pixel perfect. Oh! All right, we're over.
Let's go.
Awesome.
You just need to explain it again. That was the secret.
Yeah, I just thank you, chatter, who asked what was going on. I really appreciate it. All right, so this means we can actually do yet another trick here. We need to take out a lot of these gunships here, or turrets here, because they will just be a giant pain in our butt if we don't. But we don't want to take out all of them, because we do actually need to do a death warp here. This is the second and final death warp of the run. We need to make sure that all of these, or at least one of these turrets, still exists and is alive by the end, simply because we need it to sort of hit us through this gate that is currently behind us.
The comedic
so there it
timing
is.
of you about to explain how it is an extremely RNG trick, and then that's when the RNG
And then
kicks
getting
in
it.
is
Yeah,
absolutely
appreciate
perfect.
it. All right, so we jump right when he shoots the missile, and we get knocked through the gate. And
Nice.
that is the second half of that skip. Now, you might remember from the Frost Fatals run that that skip is also death warpable with the gun, but without the rocket launcher, we have to do it in this very strange roundabout way.
Oh, that didn't seem that bad.
It worked. Yeah, it's not too bad, but it does. It's definitely slower than having full command over your health.
Sure, yeah.
All right, so we make our way to the factory fight against a lot of Daisy Fitzroy's crew, and that's because in a universe that we skipped us actually going into, Booker was a martyr for them, and now that we are back, they're confused as to why there's two Bookers, so they're a little bit suspicious of us. So, unfortunately, we no longer have allies in this game. We only have two sets of enemies.
All right, chat is sad that there's more trivia that is yet untold, so we might have to
Oh, and the trivia.
throw some more in later if there's some lulls.
Hold on. We have a long cutscene here. This is a good place for it. Very quickly. What is the strongest dragon type move in Generation 1? A. Twister. B. Dragon Rage. Or C. Dragon Breath.
I believe Dragon Rage is the only dragon type move in Gen 1. So
Are you
do that.
sure? I'm pretty sure I used Dragon Breath and Fire Red, Leaf Green.
But that's Gen 3.
Are you sure? Are you
I believe Dragon Rage is the only... Because I believe Dragon is the only type that cannot do... that does not benefit from Stab in Gen 1.
I didn't really think that.
I'm pretty sure we had this as a think fast question. That's why I know it.
Yes, you are correct. And congratulations to the chatters who did figure it out. It is indeed Dragon Rage. Dragon Rage was the only dragon move in Generation 1, and which is hilarious because it doesn't get stabbed and has no super effective analog, so
Nope.
very fun.
A lot of weird stuff
Programming like
around. I mean, there's also only one dragon line in Gen 1. Like, Dragon definitely
that-
feels like an afterthought.
that. Yeah, it does. A lot of things in Gen 1 feel like an afterthought, if I may be honest.
Yeah.
Did you know that Charizard is still neutral to ice type moves? Because fire did not resist ice in Gen 1,
Oh, yeah.
which is dumb. Anyway,
I think they should bring back bird type.
type missing no type. Alright, there's a couple more enemies that we need to take out here, excuse me. And we make our way to the Finkton fight. I'm going to do something that's actually a little bit slow. I'm actually going to pick up this vigor here called Undertow. If you don't like holes, look away for like the next 30 seconds. It's a bit of a rough animation, and unfortunately we're going to have to use it a lot in the coming fights because it's just that powerful.
Ooh, I don't like that at all. Okay.
Yeah, it's called Undertow. It lets you push enemies away and also pull them towards you. It's an extremely helpful vigor, but I do admit it looks very unpleasant. In addition, we're going to pick up a lot of money here, just in case. And make our way to the factory fight.
Sometimes animators will just animate something and not ask why, like, not think about the implications of it, you know?
Yeah, that is correct.
I feel similarly about the tooth level in Psychonauts 2, but I do give you a warning for that.
All right. So this fight is actually rather scripted as well, but it's scripted to a point, like most of the other fights. If something just doesn't work the way you want it to, even though you set up for it perfectly, it just will not work. So all of the enemies in that ship are taken out. I'm talking a little bit fast because there's a lot to talk about here. And we're going to be setting up some fireball traps on this platform here. A lot of enemies can just sort of slip through the cracks and make it so that you actually just can't complete a lot of things because you just missed an enemy. But by placing some fireball traps here, it makes it so that that's not as big of a concern. In addition, there's going to be a handyman that we have to fight for the first time. And to do that, we're going to want to make sure that we're actually close to a very interestingly placed Tesla coil. I'm not exactly sure why there's a Tesla coil in another dimension, but I guess I'll take it and accept it. All right, to do that, we're going to make our way over here. And for some reason, all of the enemies, big enemies in this game, have a weakness to a certain vigor. And for whatever reason, the handymen are extremely weak to murder of crows. That's basically one of the only reasons we pick it up. And if you remember from the beginning of the game, we actually did pick up an extra gear called Handyman Nemesis, which means we actually do deal extra damage to handymen. So because we don't have a gun, this process of punching and hoping for Elizabeth to give us extra stuff is extremely inefficient. So we do what we must to make it as fast as possible. But that was a pretty good factory fight. I'll absolutely take that.
Pretty smooth.
Where's Elizabeth? There you are. Unfortunately, you need Elizabeth to be on screen to activate a lot of the cutscenes, so there's a little bit of extra waiting time sometimes required, depending on where she ends the fight.
Booker, we have to do something. We have to act. We have to get in there. Come on, Booker. We've got
All right.
to get out of here. Boost me up. Go to the window and
We have another lengthy cutscene, so here's another trivia question. I might as well. In The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, there are 3 named birds. Which is not one of those names? A. Trill, B. Prattle, and C. Purdy.
I have no idea.
You might remember.
I don't know.
You might remember the birds as the shopkeepers that are just located all across Hyrule in Twilight Princess.
Twilight Princess is like my least favorite mainline Zelda. So
really interesting.
yeah. Well,
Why is
so
that?
I played it on Wii, and I felt like it was just very gimmicky. And then I played a little bit on GameCube, but later, and I was like, okay, this is a much better game on the GameCube, I think. But yeah, I just didn't like it that much. I just felt like. I think also, I'm like generally a bigger fan of the 2D Zeldas, anyways.
I see.
So
I'm seeing some B. I'm seeing some Fred.
I'm gonna go
seeing
with A,
some Purdy.
because I haven't gone with A in a while, I feel.
A. Okay. You think I'm trying to game this? You're trying to metagame you a little bit here?
No, I just have no idea, so I'm just going off of anti-patterns.
Fair enough. You'll see that we actually jumped backwards to activate that lever trigger, and that's because it saves a little bit of time over just turning around. And by a little bit of time, I mean less than a second, but we're speedrunners. We like optimizations.
This is all they had.
Elizabeth has undergone a bit of a transformation since the last time we saw her, so
How do I do what?
Forget.
this will be her outfit for the rest of the game.
How do you wash away the
Elizabeth's
things that
model
you've
here
done?
looks like it'd be on the side of a box for a graphics card.
Just learn to live with it.
Like circa
That is
2004, not like now.
Yes.
That is an extremely
York or Paris?
specific reference. I don't have any mental fortitude to like.
I
actually
highly
commit
recommend
memory.
looking up old like 90s graphics card boxes. They go incredibly hard.
Interesting.
They'd always just have like a picture of like a lady or like a wizard rendered, and you'd be like, wow, that's a wizard this graphics card can render. Now you don't even know what wizards the graphics cards can render.
Nice. All right. The answer is Prattle,
Was that
which is
C?
B.
B? Ah!
Trill and Purdy are indeed correct shopkeepers, but Prattle is not one of them.
I should have stuck with my guns and just kept going B. Darn.
Well, don't stick to your guns. We don't want any guns on this run.
That's not it.
Certainly is. Is.
Try again.
All right, here you are.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Booker, we've got to stop
So,
them.
Songbird crashed our ship, so we're going to need to find another way to get to Paris, or find the answers for what's going on here.
Stop it, you don't know
And
what
a
to
large
do.
part of that is the Luchesses. You might have noticed these guys sort of teleporting around,
You've done it now.
and they were at the beginning of the game as well. There's a whole history of them that I'll try to cover during the final segment of the game, but for now, just know that they were killed in an experiment, and that for that reason, they are sort of able to transfer themselves between different realities and the time-space continuum.
So Comstock uses these songs. Are there others we can use? Something to keep the bird off our back?
Perhaps you should ask the maestro himself.
That's validating me really hard on this
Of course.
this graphics card thing. I feel so seen.
I'll have to look into it later. I was completely unaware of that history.
They're very good.
All right, so we have, if you've played this game casually, there's a very difficult fight that actually takes place in this courtyard here, but simply by standing on this railing and jumping right over the trigger, we do not have to do it. Very good programming.
Sometimes
And I
just
mean
don't
that-
make the trigger volume wide enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's very nice because we don't have a gun to actually fight them all, but
Elizabeth?
regardless, we're going to have Elizabeth unlock that door, and by standing far enough away from her, the door will be instantly unlocked. So we don't actually have to wait for the cutscene.
He was all I had.
I guess she
I'm
just
not-
works better with like without the pressure of being washed over.
Yeah, basically.
Friends.
All right, I'm hoping to get a little bit of salts here because I'm actually rather low, which is a little bit scary because there's another fight coming up here. Oh, I want to reiterate something. You might remember that at the beginning of the run I said that we have Sugar Rush, which is a gear that lets us move faster when we eat food. That has not gone away. That is still a constant RNG element that is in this run. That if you just don't get food from some of your drops, you are going to just be slower than another person. So, we are, despite us the two big RNG tricks being done now, we are never truly free from RNG in this run, which is why I don't do it that often. Did one of them escape? No. Oh, they did. All right,
In
that
the
should be it,
end,
though.
we are all at the whims of fate.
Crack this one open?
We are. What difficulty is this? We are playing on easy mode because anything more would be just really disgusting. There's a lot of categories for this game. There's gunless, there's 1999 mode, which is the hardest one, the hardest difficulty. There's gearless, there's glitchless, there's one-handed.
Quantum particles.
So a constant thing that my chat encourages me to try to do is do a run that incorporates all of those things. And that just sounds awful. And no, I'll just set the record straight. I will never do that.
You didn't.
But I don't.
Gunless, gearless, 1999.
Tells me they're not exactly what they
Gunless, gearless, 99 mode, glitchless, one-handed.
One hand. Okay.
Subjunctive.
I don't think the syntax has been invented.
That might be a little bit too much for me.
Had to have.
Especially one-handed on Switch seems rough.
seem to want to help.
They seem.
I mean, I did do that. If you have not caught the Frost Fatals run that I did,
Oh yeah, that's right. There was yeah.
yeah, I did the final fight of Bioshock Infinite one-handed, although I did have guns there, so it was a little bit easier than gunless one-handed.
I feel like one-handed mouse and keyboard. I'm just consistently way better at.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, especially since you can program things.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the Switch is notorious for not allowing customization for buttons.
Well, just
Right.
like years of like playing like MMOs and stuff and being like, I'm eating with one hand, and so with the other hand, I'm gonna click my skills.
Yeah, that's totally fair. All right, so we're going to purchase our final upgrades for the run, which include an upgrade, yet another upgrade to Devil's Kiss, as well as this very fun vigor called Charge. We're not going to really be able to see it used in this particular circumstance. However, it will be extremely helpful later on. It basically lets you charge at enemies by zooming at them. It's very, very fun. unfortunately, instead, we're going to have to do this fight. If you remember that Frost Fatals run, you'll remember that I didn't actually do this fight because we could skip over it via Death Warp. Unfortunately, such is not possible with this run, and we must actually do that fight. So here is me doing it to the best of my ability. We obviously need a ton of salts to actually consistently use our vigors now, but Elizabeth's secondary goal is to give us extra supplies when we need them. But as you have seen, sometimes she doesn't give you exactly what you want.
Man, I still don't like the whole. I still don't like that.
Yeah, one of them is just trying to blow up on me, which is interesting. Yeah, so Undertow is regrettably the most powerful vigor of the game. We actually purchased an upgrade for Undertow that makes it so that we can pull in 3 enemies at a time and not just 1.
Thanks.
So for a lot of Bioshock Infinite's vigors seem to be geared towards crowd control as opposed to raw damage or anything like that, like in Bioshock 1. And a result of that is, wow, nice miss, Variety. And one of the results of that is that, where was my train of thought there? One of the results of that is that
Can you open this?
you do get to expedite fights a little bit more.
My book said most fools keep the
This is yet another long cutscene where Songbird tries to find us yet again, so we can do one more trivia question.
Oh, heck yeah.
If you put a person in a cage,
In the first-person shooter game Valorant, what is the Agent Killjoy's real name? A. Clara, B. Hana, or C. Adalia?
Oh god, I don't know. I've only watched people play Valorant. I'm gonna go with Clara.
Clara, any particular reason?
No. She seems like a Clara.
She seems like, okay, fair enough. Let's wait for some responses to get in, since chat's gotta be on a slight delay.
So far, a lot of B's.
B's, Faith, Clara, got 1A. Alright, we're not done with the cutscene yet, so we'll still field some responses.
Those answers in chat.
Promise me.
I will stop him.
You at home could win
That is an oath you cannot keep.
points.
But promise
Yes,
me,
you guys
if
get
it comes
points.
to it, you will not let him take me back.
And yes, the answer is Clara, which is A. You were correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Alright, so you might remember that in the Frost Fatales run, I'm sorry that I keep referencing it if you have not seen it, but to make constant comparisons to any percent and why Gunless is different, there is a skip that I did in any percent, or any percent gearless basically, that makes it so that you can basically skip this fight. That is not possible on... well, I shouldn't say that. It is possible on Gunless. The only problem is you need to come back to this location again, so it's actually more expedient to just do the fight, since you don't have to do that again. You might remember that I said that sort of falling down from that high place over the gate over there is actually another way that you can do it, but that's also not an option because the next portions of the cutscene will not activate if you actually go over the gate that way. So we are unfortunately left doing the fight properly, but you know, we could do a lot of things the other way, so a little bit of intended things can be fine.
The game is having a frame rate moment, huh?
Is it? Oh, I thought, hopefully my stream is not poor.
Oh, man, I gotta stop looking at where the hands are. I didn't know this bothered me as much as it does.
Yeah, and that's because normally you get Undertow extremely late in the game, so typically players don't utilize it in the same way that they've been using Devil's Kiss and Murder of Crows and Bucking Bronco, etc. Unfortunately, it is extremely overpowered, and we do need to use it in Gunless. So here's yet another handyman, and we're going to do the exact same thing we did before, but without the Tesla coil this time. Simply hit it with Murder of Crows, hit it with some fireballs, and then punch it a few times. Oh, we don't have enough magic. I need to stop calling it magic. Okay, that's good.
I mean, it is kind of just magic.
It's effectively magic. Why did I do that? That was very not workable. And there should be one more enemy around. Yes, I hear you. There you are. Really? Okay. Really? Really? Okay. All right, now with that fight done, we can open the gate as the game intended.
Back there at the shop, what you asked me to do.
And we're going to be performing some of my favorite movement in this game. And I'm really excited to show this off because we didn't have to do it in any percent gearless, so I get to show it off now. We need to take out this set of snipers that are going to be seen in this very specific right now. We need to take them out right now. Simply because if you don't, they'll sort of aggro another fight that you don't want aggroed later. And we're going to do some very fast movement to take all of them out, and it's really, really fun. And you'll get to see what charge does in spectacular fashion. So after we call in this freight hook, we're going to jump up a couple times, hit this guy, and then charge over to this guy. And then after that, we can just sort of pull the remaining two and punch them down. I don't know where the other one went. All right, I heard the end of the fight call, so I'll call that good.
Someday, game developers will realize that letting the player like hookshot to an enemy just makes so many skips possible.
Yeah, well, they're not necessarily used for skips, except for one. There will be one skip using it coming out, but that's the only one that we've actually found that's incredibly useful. The other ones just look really cool and are very fast to pull off, so I'm happy with that personally.
But I'm not complaining.
Neither am I. You might notice me not actually finding food here, as is intended from the run because of Sugar Rush, because Elizabeth just likes to take her sweet time to get over to the gate, so we just sort of have to wait around for her, which is fun, I suppose.
Look, she's shorter than you.
I guess she's also wearing heels. I gotta give her some props for that. Now, I know that spawn camping is pretty toxic in first-person shooters, but I'm sorry, we're just gonna have to do it a couple times here. If you remember this game casually, you'll remember fighting Lady Comstock 3 times. If you're playing on the PC version of this game, you can skip all of this. You can just do another crouch slide through the gate and just be done. However, we're playing on Switch, so we don't have such luxury. We will actually have to beat Lady Comstock all 3 times, but we can expedite the process by spawn camping her 2 of the 3 times. So while Elizabeth is lockpicking that, we're just going to place down 5 fire traps here.
It's your mother's grave.
And in doing so, when the fight actually begins,
She's your mother.
Lady Comstock will spawn directly on top of this since we know where she's going to spawn, and she hopefully will die very, very quick.
Open the door, or do I have to go in with
Suspense.
If I don't get the spawn camp correct, it's not a huge deal, and you just have to throw some more fire at her since she's very weak to fire. But
you and I have some common ground.
regardless, it's
Let me do it.
it would be nice to get the spawn camp so we don't have to sit around and just like throw fireballs at our enemy.
You see, child, you chose to follow a false shepherd, and he has led you astray.
Oh,
Yeah, so Elizabeth is going to get the, how should I describe this? Elizabeth is going to get the reality bending power sort of sucked out of her for a little bit, and Comstock is going to use that power to revive a apparition version of Lady Comstock. And there she is. Yes, I see that in chat. We are indeed preparing for a big boom.
Elizabeth, are you all right?
Where did she go?
Hold on, you need to rest for a minute.
No, I'm getting that hand.
Elizabeth, why is your mother a ghost?
All right,
She's not. He
that's
used me to power
looks promising.
kind of tear.
Nice, good. That is spawn camp number 1. The second time we do the fight, we cannot spawn camp her, unfortunately. But we can sort of optimize it as much as we can. Unfortunately,
But what is she? Alive or dead?
Why do you ask what?
When the delicious
I don't know why I said unfortunately. I didn't have a train of thought after that. What I meant to say was that we can actually spawn camp the third phase. So 1, 2, 3, we can spawn camp 2 of them.
That's pretty good.
Because these fights are just bad. Does anyone remember the Imprisoned from Skyward Sword? That fight that you have to fight 3 separate times when they could have just easily condensed it into one fight? It reminds me of that, where you're just sort of fighting the same enemy 3 times.
To follow her. Convince her to open the gate.
Completely unnecessarily.
Like, I get the, like, you beat the boss, then it comes up for this again, and it's like, oh no, I thought I was done, but I have to do it again. But, like, a third time is a little much. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Truths which, in this world, Comstock has destroyed.
If only one of you had the power to alter time and space.
Alright, so these guys are gonna very sarcastically talk to my face. We're just gonna wait for them to leave. Alright. So now our task, is to find 3 tears within the world that will reveal the truth about the Lutesses and Lady Comstock. I will tell you what those truths are as we go along, but there are some fights that we do need to do. We're going to charge over to this guy, use our expanded fireballs to take out all of these enemies. There you are. That should be enough. Oh, you survived somehow. That is very uncommon.
How much time does skipping is doing that crouch? The crouch skip.
Done.
Like,
Probably around 10 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
It's huge. Yeah, it's massive.
It's a tear.
So thankfully, we don't actually have to sit around and wait for the tears to play out, so we can just sort of activate them and then leave, which is a godsend, because speedrun, you know? Hopefully we can find some food in here. No, just money. Cool.
We're rich.
We're rich, but we don't need to buy anything more, so ideally we just find a bunch of money. Sorry, a bunch of food, but
I was gonna say,
we're
well,
never
good
lucky.
news.
Yeah, good news. Okay, this is the most confounding enemy in the game. We've seen firemen before, but normally they've been accompanied by enemies. There's just this one fireman here for some reason, and I don't know why. It's just...
We got lost.
If anyone has a description for as to why that's there, I would love to hear it, because it's just one lone fireman just sort of walking around. All right, the second of our 3 truths from the tears will be found in the Columbia Bank, which is guarded by 2 crows, but we're not going to fight any of them. Thankfully, we can just run past them. All right. This fight is very strange because it's when condition seems to change. It doesn't actually, but it feels like it does. Basically, you need a certain number of enemies to die, and after that happens, one of the 2 doors on this arena will open up. Hopefully, it's the one behind us because that's the one we need to go through. It was okay, good. Sometimes that door just does not open up for a very long time, and it's incredibly obnoxious. All right, pick that up. Hopefully there's food. Food. All right, there was food. Food, no food. We're never lucky. All right, food. I'll take it. Food. No food. Health kits don't count as food, unfortunately. There's going to be a fight against a crow here, but we're going to do the exact same thing we did last time. Just place a fireball trap, and he's done. Luckily, we have a lot of salts, which is fantastic, because this is the fight against Lady Comstock that we cannot spawn camp, so we do actually have to use skill. Can you believe it? We have to aim things.
Aiming on AIMBOT. We are coming up on 2 hours, so but after the 3rd fight be a good spot to take our 2nd break.
The best spot would be after we actually after we get past the gate. So yes, very soon.
Cool, perfect.
Yeah, okay, good. She can do this really obnoxious thing, and thankfully there was food there. She can do this extremely obnoxious thing where she flies up to the 2nd level of the bank, which is terrible, obviously, because then you have to be a little bit more precise with your shots, in addition to the fact that she's just further away for those shots to take. So the fact that we were able to take her out relatively quickly is a good sign. Oh, no food? Okay, cool. We have a very interesting skip that I'm not exactly sure why works. I'm glad it does. Those enemies, those sniper enemies that we took out before, it was really, really good that we took them out, because if they were still there, they would still consider us in aggro mode, which is very, very bad, because we need to basically unload the fight that we're in an effort to basically skip the fight that we saw us pass through on our way to the Comstock gate. And we can do that by simply just moving to the left of the fight and then making our way all the way over to the door. You'll see what I mean. That was a very complicated explanation. But. So that's the fight that we skipped before. But in order to hopefully open this door without falling ourselves in aggro, we will move over here, wait for the fight to despawn, and then hopefully very quickly make our way over to this lock so that Elizabeth can unlock. It doesn't look like we got it, unfortunately, so we will have to do this fight. Not a huge deal, but a little bit obnoxious. Why am I not fixing it? Yes, I know. One of the most annoying things is that enemies sort of spawn unknowingly to use, unbeknownst to you, I guess is a better word. So,
like a surprise party.
Yeah, I guess. One that I do not want.
Yes.
Alright, that sounds like the end of the fight. So now we can unlock that door. Ideally, what would have happened is that we did not have to actually do that fight, and we would have successfully de-aggroed it, so we could simply unlock the door without having to do it. But we got a lot of things. I'm not too worried about missing that. So we have one more spawn camp fight to do with Lady Comstock. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to place all of my fire traps down, and then we'll take the break. So the first thing we get to see when we come back is a massive explosion of fire.
Perfect. Very here for that.
So I'm going to hopefully grab onto a couple more salts from the enemies that are sort of laying around here. That's not salts. That's not salts. That's not salts. That's actually kind of bad. Salts, please. Salts, please.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Well.
I know you hate me for not being your daughter. And I hated you for not being my mother.
I guess we'll see if this works when we come back.
Well, before we go to break, I'll read a couple more announcements. Your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel help support the Games Done Quick hotfix. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy our daily speedrunning content. We'll be right back after this second and final break for the last stretch of Bioshock Infinite. Don't go anywhere. Hey, hello, welcome back to Amerlin's Rudy Tooty Fun and Shooty. Except for it's me, it's Corva May. I've taken over. And we're not actually shooty at all. We're magey. KG and magey. We can get back into it.
All right, so last time on Bioshock Infinite Gunless, we didn't get salts that we really wanted to make sure that this Lady Comstock fight was properly spawn camped, so I only was able to put 4, but let's see if it actually worked.
You hold on to this.
I believe.
Fingers crossed. Okay, cool. Very, very nice. We did not have to... We did not actually have to do the fight properly. I am going to get a little bit of salts here. And by little bit, I mean full salts, because we will need to use a lot of it for the next section.
See, when everything was just giving you money, it's because it knew.
Yeah. It was it keyed in on. Yeah, see, this wasn't salt either. Let's do a little bit of a full sweep here. No salts. Okay, salt's there. Okay, fine. I guess I just was not what's the word? Thorough enough with my search. Although it is good knowledge that with my double power up that I only need to have 4 fire traps. I was always under the impression that I needed 5, but I suppose that was not
Maybe
correct.
this is you in another world where you never meet him.
I saved him. I don't know.
I feel like when you've been destroyed 3 times, you shouldn't get the opportunity to, like, soliloquy on the way out.
I mean, we'll let her do her thing. She knows she's been dead for a while, so she died again, so, you know.
Yeah, that is rough.
Yeah, she can never lost her odds, okay. Alright, so coming up is yet another extremely long cutscene where Songbird basically takes back Elizabeth and takes her to Comstock House. So, what better time to do more trivia than a long cutscene? Like I said, Bioshock Infinite's a very interesting one for marathons because you can get donations read during the long cutscene times, but this is not, to my knowledge, at least a charity event, so we will fill the time with trivia instead. So, here's your next question. On the original Japanese version of Wind Waker, what is the reward for beating all 50 floors of the Savage Labyrinth? A. A yellow rupee. B. A heart piece. Or C. A joy pendant.
I think it's a joy pendant.
You think it's a joy pendant?
Yeah, we haven't had C in a while. And this might be a little surprising, but I did in fact play the North American release of Wind Waker, not the Japanese one.
Well, I see some joy pendants in chat. I also see more joy pendant, more joy pendant. 1 vote for yellow rupee. More joy pendants, more joy pendants. Another vote for yellow rupee.
I never should have left. I never should have left. Take me back.
Well, we're just about done with this cutscene. So yes, the answer is in fact a yellow rupee.
Really?
You get 10 rupees for beating all 50 floors of the Savage Labyrinth.
I talked myself out of that one.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what they were thinking there, but
Well, the journey is its own reward.
I suppose if you want to be positive about it.
I mean, at that point, you gotta find the wins, but you can, right?
Yeah,
you
you
get
have
all
to
that,
laugh.
and then
I'm not letting you take her, you hear me?
All right, so coming up is, as I said in the Frost Fatales run, which I'm going to yet again reference, is my favorite skip in the game, just because I think it's extremely understandable and it's extremely doable, which I think is really great for new runners if any of this looks fun to you. This is Asylum Skip, and you might remember what charge does. It lets you sort of hook shots, if I may use that term, onto enemies and sort of charge your way towards them. There's a turret on top of this place, which is above a loading zone that you're not normally supposed to be able to cross. However, if you stand next to a very specific enemy, jump, and then use your charge ability, you'll be able to skip every single fight in the asylums. Hopefully we get that. Stand next to this guy here, turn around, aim at the turrets, and jump, and there we go.
oh, that rules.
That's awesome. That is the entirety of Asylum skipped, so no more harrowing things, no more horror elements in this
That's
game.
what I'm saying. That's what I was saying earlier. The moment that you give players the ability to warp to an enemy, they will end up. Speedrunners will end up skipping an entire level without fail.
Yep. You were definitely your intuition was definitely correct there. So, yeah, if any of this looked interesting to you, anything about this weird guns run, know that there are things that are really, really demonstratable, I think, that are really good introductions to the run, that I think if anyone else wants to pick this game up, there's a ton of them, a ton of really easy, really cool skips that you can do for this very, very long game otherwise.
Yeah, it is wild. Like this is like a lot of really long games. Like, I mean, you can get them down to like 8 or 9 hours, but not really that much shorter than that. But this game is surprisingly quick.
Yeah, Finkton Skip is by far the most important one that we found because it just skips the entire Finkton section, which includes doing the Good Time Club. It includes doing Shantytown. It includes doing the Chen Lin side quest. It involves so many things, and the fact that you can just skip it all with multiple methods. You saw the drop cloth method, and I exhibited the death warp method before. And the fact that there's just so many ways that you can do it, I think, really speaks to how far this game has come from its initial releases, with or without HRH mod.
And is stuff still getting found?
Every so often, there's like a small optimization that does get found. For example, in all collectibles, on the PC version only, the Switch cannot do this. There is a... Normally, you would not be able to do raffle skip on all collectibles because there's a collectible in that raffle cutscene that you do need to actually be able to do. However, we've discovered a way to actually still be able to do the skip and sort of walk backwards to actually get the collectibles, which ends up still being faster. So just small little things like that.
Of the prophet shall sit the throne.
Oh, this seems bad.
And drown in flame.
Yeah, it's not fantastic. Let's dive into some lore, I guess. So basically, Comstock wants Elizabeth to take his place as the ruler of Columbia and enact revenge on what he calls the Sodom below, basically everyone on the surface. So this Elizabeth has transported us to a reality in which that actually did happen, in which Comstock succeeded. So our goal is to basically prevent that from ever happening, is to find a way to eliminate Comstock so that Elizabeth can never really be born and Elizabeth can never really be in a place to actually enact this violence.
Couldn't she just not do it?
What is this?
Yes, but you're going to see the sort of indoctrination that they're going to be implementing on her in just a couple seconds here.
My son what?
Should've just waited.
It's going to look extremely uncomfortable, so small content warning for any for torture, basically. Yeah, that doesn't look extremely fun.
Oh
so
yeah,
we're just
that's
gonna.
Seems bad.
We're gonna try to escape, get her to escape, and we're gonna use charge again because charge is just that amazing. We're gonna charge over to these enemies so that we can more easily access the 2 switches that will shut down the machine.
Honestly, you'd think one would be enough.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
Like that much of a backup?
Well, you have to think about it in their terms, that this is an extremely important thing that they don't fail.
That's true.
So as Elizabeth summons a tornado to wipe out all the enemies here, we are going to make our way towards her when the game clearly does not want us to, because I'm being stopped in my tracks by small invisible walls and also enemies, apparently. For all intents and purposes, it is actually faster to jump through this corridor here. However, when you do that, there's a small chance that you simply clip through the floor and fall forever. That requires you to restart the checkpoints, which means that you lose like 5 minutes. So it's generally safer to just not do that, even though it is technically slightly faster.
Ooh, that's rough.
There's a scene in Bioshock Infinite, the second DLC to this game, Bioshock Infinite Burial at Sea Episode 2, where there's a far more intense torture scene that I always make sure to give a content warning for, because it's pretty rough.
It's me. I'm the one who...
They're just really dwelling on holes in skin.
Yeah, she's gonna put on her jacket. It's okay.
We are going to find Comstock.
Why?
You saw what he turns me into. I will not allow that.
And so what, you're going to kill him?
This is That's where you start moralizing, Booker. You forget. I know you.
I'm not going to let you kill him.
You might have noticed that as we progress through this game, more and more cutscenes start to appear. So,
Classic.
like I said, this game is very interesting for marathons because it's a great place for donations to be read. When no such thing is available, however, it can be slightly awkward. So, thanks for sticking with me, everyone.
But that's why we have trivia.
When did you learn?
That's why we have trivia. Trust me, there's going to be an extremely long cutscene coming up that will definitely necessitate some trivia.
There you go.
All right, so old Elizabeth gave us a card to give to younger Elizabeth, which has a bunch of code that Elizabeth understands. However, there's one symbol that she doesn't, and it's a cage.
Cage.
Why she didn't just include that as part of the normal code is beyond me, because no one else can understand it anyway. But I guess she wanted to be as cryptic as humanly possible.
Well, if you're going to be doing time-spanning, like, reality-bending sort of cryptic stuff, I think it is important to make it as incomprehensible as you can.
You know what? Fair enough.
Comstock's flagship.
All right, so normally we would be able to death warp through this cutscene, so we would not have to watch it, but unfortunately we do not have access to death, so we do actually just have to watch it. However, the way that we take out the next fight is actually incredibly scripted, although it does not look like it might be. Generally speaking, the fights from here on out will have a weird condition where if you take out the smaller enemies before taking out the bigger or more high-class enemies, then either more will spawn or it'll sort of gate you off from progression. You need to beat the bigger enemies to actually experience the progression. So, we are going to take out 2 Iron Patriots and 1 Volley Gunman in that very specific order, because otherwise we will be stuck waiting for a gondola to appear when we really don't want there to be. Alright, there's 1. We can charge over to this other one, hit him with some vulnerability stuff, and throw a couple fireballs. That should take him out. Very nice. And then there's our volley gun man who is trying to run away from me. No such luck. And there's that. So now that I've done that properly, that might have seemed really useless and not exactly worth my time to do in that very specific order. However, there's this gondola that's going to be coming down later. This one right here, yeah. And if we did not take out the enemies, the bigger enemies in that specific order, what would have happened is that they would just not, that ship would not appear, and we would be stuck here waiting for it for some random interval of time. So, by doing that fight in a proper manner, we got to forego that. A little bit more punching, and we should be on our way. Someone's trying to punch me back. How dare you?
Stuck up behind you. This was a Team Fortress run, you'd be done.
Yeah. Alright, so coming up is every speedrunner's favorite thing, which is an auto-scroller.
Woo!
You have to take out enemies as fast as possible, but yes, you can't actually skip anything, you're just sort of forced to wait around.
Do you think it's possible to...
2 ships will be coming down through here. 1 ship will be coming through the side, and 1 more ship will be coming from the top right. All throughout, there will be some interspersed enemies that are basically flying turrets. We would have seen them if we played through this game casually, but nobody has time for that, so this will be the first time that we actually do see them in the run.
I will say, this game does have some very good set pieces.
It does. It has really good sound design as well.
Yeah.
Yes, again.
I was like, yeah, the visual style of this game does remain, like, it does hold up, and then the holes in the hand show up, and I'm like, I regret my words immediately.
Yeah, I really do apologize for that.
Nah, I'm dwelling on it as because it's,
technically, it's not my fault that it exists in the game, but also, like...
How could you?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. But at the same time, like, I understand that it's a relatively common avenue for uncomfortableness. It's just, unfortunately, really, really good at just pushing enemies off like this, which thankfully instantly kills them. Doing a little looting. And what's really annoying about the second phase of this is that you see these ships in the background. You cannot influence them in any way. You can technically kill the enemies on it, but they will not go by faster if you do that. So that's what makes this auto-scroller a little bit terrible, is that you just sort of have to wait for this to be done before the next phase starts. What's really unfortunate is that you see all these guns on the ship here, right? If you hold Y for a little bit too long, guess what happens? You pick up a gun, and that basically means that your run is immediately invalidated. So I need to be extremely...
by accidentally picking up a gun 2 hours and 20 minutes into the run.
Yeah, I need to be extremely cautious. All right, this should be the final segment.
I guess at least it's a hold.
It is at least a hold, yeah. Alright, we're gonna come up here. Thanks for having salts just a little bit too late, but whatever.
Great.
Sorry, that's all.
We might actually die. We did. Which is not a huge deal. It's actually it's really not that big of a deal. We just end up back on the ship where there's enemies right here, so that's just the end.
Oh, it doesn't. You don't have to restart the auto-scroller?
No, thank God. Can you imagine?
That'd be rough.
Just drop me off if you want to. This isn't your problem, Booker.
I won't abandon you.
You wouldn't, would you?
We're not quite done using charge. It's just that fun. There's not a very lengthy section, but there is a little bit of a lengthy fighting section that you can do in this little area here. But we're going to circumvent it by just sort of hopping over this gap here with charge. And activate the switch.
This should clear up.
There's a couple enemies that we can take out here, so let's do that so that they don't endanger our health even more. Okay, very good. Don't pick up the machine gun variety. I know they're very enticing, but that would kill the run. All right, so this is the second phase of the Comstock engineering deck, and it has a very interesting way to complete it. And after I get a little bit of health, it's going to be called Stand in the Corner and Do Nothing.
Yeah. I love that strat.
I'm gonna basically pick up these salts, and there should be some medics around here. Very good. Pick up a couple of these just for in case something goes wrong in the next fight. And we're gonna make our way all the way back to the button that we pressed. Look to the sky, crouch, and just sort of wait here for a while. This would not be as necessary if you were playing on PC, because there's something called super bouncing, I believe, which basically lets you, with a very precise frame jump input. Wait, is someone actually hitting me? Wow, you found me. That is extremely rare. You get a gold star. Anyway, super bouncing lets you sort of skip the necessity to do a lot of these fights, so we don't have access to that. We don't have a ton of frames as the PC does, so we are stuck in limbo, just waiting for all of the pods to fall.
We'll get here.
It sure is taking its time.
Oh.
That's okay.
Okay.
They're from over there. They're not from behind me.
Is that the last pod?
All right.
Yeah,
I hope you
okay.
enjoyed that trick. That very high skill level trick.
Strikes you down to it. But you've always
I know that in GDQ's submission guidelines, they say that runs should display high degrees of skill, and I think we can all agree that what I just did there was a high degree of skill.
That's when you timestamp. So that the
in your
reviewers should
submission.
be like, ooh.
Yeah. So we have a little bit more charging to do, which is really, really fun. Across all the platforms, so you can skip this fight with a handyman, because obviously we do not wish to fight another handyman. And we have a very lengthy cutscene where Elizabeth confronts Comstock and basically asks why he's doing what he's doing. So if there was ever a time for trivia, now is the time.
All right.
All right, next question. How many unused type combinations are there left still in Pokemon?
This is including Gen 9?
This includes Gen 9.
Okay.
I saw this.
A,
I could hear you singing from
5,
above.
B, 9, or C, 12.
Smaller one. They were training me.
I think it was 12 as of Gen 8, and it's 9
When I was
now?
little, I used to be able not
Is
to
what I
select
want to
characters, but I
say.
could create new
It might have been
ones
15 to 12, though.
anywhere I wanted to
But I'm going to go with... Maybe it's 18 to 12. I'm going to go with 9.
Do you want to start listing some off? What do you think? What do you think are some?
Oh,
unused
Lord.
type
I don't remember off the
combinations?
top. I think a bug's a bunch of them, I'm pretty sure.
Step back. I'm ending this.
Normal Ghost used to be, but that was in PLA.
Into a trap.
I need
There's-
to do this.
There's one of them is, I think, there's Rock something is one of them, I want to say.
Okay.
What am I?
I don't remember them all off the top of my head.
Look at you.
Well, you can list them. I'll see if I can confirm or deny whether or not it is one of them.
Everything I've done,
God,
I've done to
like-
keep you safe.
Safe from what?
Bug Dragon,
Prophet shall
Bug Dragon is one of them. Yes.
because that's an oxymoron type in their
mountains of
their view.
But the Archangel revealed
That's the one I think I.
beware, Prophet.
God,
Beware the false DeWitt. For he shall
because I keep thinking of combinations to be like, no, I know what that is. No, I know what that is. No, I know an example for that.
sent mighty armies to stop you. I've rained fire on you from above.
Normal
Well-
Dragon exists.
Normal Dragon does exist. That's Rampa. Right?
Yep. Chetas was Normal Ghost. That is Hisuian Zorua.
Happened to your finger. Ask DeWitt.
Which is way better than normal Zorua, by the way.
It is very good.
Not in terms of design necessarily, but competitively speaking. All right, the answer is 9. There are 9.
All right, so I did
unused
get that
type
part right.
combinations. You did. They are normal ice, ice poison, normal bug, ground fairy, normal rock, bug dragon, normal steel, rock ghost, and fire fairy.
What did he mean?
Yeah, Fire and Fairy is also an oxymoron type in their minds. That makes sense. Fire Fairy, I feel like
My finger.
that wouldn't be that hard to make a design for.
Probably not. I mean, if anyone's a fan of competitive Pokemon, you are aware that Skeledirge loves to terrestrialize into
That
fairy
is true.
types. So
That is true.
you definitely see a lot of fairy types, fairy fire types, kind of.
Pure Flying also exists, chat, in terms of Rickety and Corvusquire. And Grass Electric is Hisui and Voltorb.
Destroy the siphon? It's the entire tower, Booker.
Oh, yeah. Also, yeah, Comstock died.
I don't know.
Yeah, but
think of something on
that's
the way.
whatever.
It happens.
It's just the main antagonist of the game. Who cares?
Can you help me out with this lock?
All right, so coming up, we have the final fight of the game. I don't have too much to say about it, other than the fact that it's extremely unoptimal to be doing it without a gun, because taking out ranged enemies is really useful, because enemies can really get away from you very fast, because they come at you in this sort of gauntlet-style format. Now, that's mitigated a little bit with Undertow, because I said that a lot of the gears in Bioshock Infinite are sort of intended for crowd control. By pulling enemies into you, you can just punch them or you can fireball them without too much repercussion because they're very close to you. However, if any enemies do get away from you, it is a little bit obnoxious to try to, hunt them down without a gun. We do have a general script for this fight with Gunless. We have a general script for it with any percent as well. But with Gunless, it's a little bit, not RNG heavy, but it's a little bit more indeterminate, shall we say. It's like a framework as opposed to like an actual script.
I need you to protect me. Will you do it? Will you do this for me? Just this one last thing.
All right, Songbird's our friend now, by the way.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't. It's a good thing you didn't shoot Songbird at the beginning. Or else,
Yeah, good point. It's a good point. Good point.
might have remembered that.
Songbird will remember this. All right, so the first thing we want to do is pull off the rocket launcher enemy because they have a ton of health, which we thankfully did. And then we're going to use it again to pull in other enemies and then also push them off.
What a convenient railing.
So what Songbird will do is allow us to take out ships that we don't actually want to deal with. For example, this one, if I hold Y, Songbird will simply just take it out for us. Now you might perk your ears up at that. I said hold Y, and you know what also hold Y does? It's
pick up
guns if there is one in the vicinity. So we need to make sure that there are no guns around us when we actually use that ability.
That doesn't sound stressful at all.
And I have never done it yet, but today could be the day. Let me push these guys off. I only got one of them, unfortunately, but that's okay. What's more important is that we actually take out this thing. All right, so the secondary objective of this fight is to sort of take out these multiple Zeppelins that are going to come and sort of try to aid Comstock, or at least the Vox Populi in the fight. In this case, there's going to be one of them, but in the next phase, there's going to be one on the left and the right. I actually mistimed my Songbird calls. I actually took out his ship that I did not intend to, so we'll have to wait a little bit for Songbird to reactivate, but that's not going to be too big of a deal.
So is the final fight just fully ads?
Sorry, what?
Is the final fight just fully it's just a wave?
It's basically just tower defense.
Huh. Bit anticlimactic.
It is. I really wanted to fight Songbird when I first played this, but I think they might have learned their lesson. You might remember the final boss from Bioshock 1 was not exactly well received, simply because it was a bit of a pushover and not exactly what you'd expect from the main villain of the game, but it's not a huge deal. All right, so the second set of Zeppelins is now going to arrive, one on the left, one on the right. If we played this through this game casually, we would have seen that we can take out Zeppelins manually as well, but we skipped over that part, so we sort of know that from being a speedrunner.
Prior knowledge.
Yeah.
And
we're...
Go ahead.
We're going to wait for our Songbird meter to actually fill up, because we need to take out the second one with Songbird. We do not want to take two of them out manually.
Oh, there's a meter the whole time.
There is a meter on the top right-hand side of the screen, in addition to the health bar of the ship, which hopefully on easy mode we do not need to worry about. All right, Songbird is ready at a very fantastic time. Take out that Zeppelin. And we have a slew of enemies to fight here, but other than that, we're almost done. My frames will suffer here, but that's just sort of how this fight is.
Well,
make sure there's no one up here. There is not. Very good.
If your frames are going down, there's no more 60 frame required tricks, right?
No, there are not.
Okay,
Very good question. And that is indeed the end of the fight. You can tell because the health bar and the Songbird meter have disappeared from the top right-hand side of the screen. Oh, I did not intend to do that. All right, so we're gonna join Elizabeth at the bow of the ship. And instigate the final section of the game, which I regret to inform you is basically just an 11-minute long auto-scroller, or walking simulator, shall I say. It basically explains the lore and everything that we've been doing in this game. I will do that. I will give you a very short summary version of that, and then we'll play some trivia till the end of the run. Because, man, I understand why we can't just, like, get rid of it for run submissions, but boy, do I wish we could sometimes.
I mean, you could.
Tear it all down.
I could. It would not get accepted if I did
But,
do
I mean,
that.
like, you can, as a community, you can't just
We can, but
you can't just cut out stuff that sucks.
We can. The big problem with it is that you can definitely lose time. So the
Fair.
fact that you still have a ton of control means that it's unfortunately required to stay in the run. All right, so now that we've destroyed the statue of the Monument Island statue, Elizabeth has regained all of her universe teleporting powers, and we're going to first use it to unfortunately drown the songbird. So
Where is he?
Oh.
Where is he?
if you are a fan of the songbird, I regret to inform you that this is the last time that we will see him. As we discovered from the beginning of the game, water pressure is not Songbird's friend, so it will be the end of our friend.
Pretty messed up when Songbird just helped us.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it does still stand as our primary roadblock to actually leaving Columbia properly.
I'm sorry.
Now, just as a fun heads up to everyone, this is now a Bioshock 1 run, so I'd like you to add another 2 hours to the estimate.
What is this place?
That's a joke, production. Please don't actually do that.
hey!
This is Rapture from Bioshock 1. Just as a fun little Easter egg. Although it will be the setting of the story in the DLCs.
Come on. Yes, it's this way.
What Comstock said about your finger.
Yes, I hope I didn't spook production too much with the estimate thing.
This is where we have to go.
Why? What is going on?
All right.
What do you mean
So,
that this is a doorway?
It's time for lore.
I'll have to show you.
Let's start with a punchy sentence here. Elizabeth is Booker's daughter. The way that basically comes about is that Booker was told, after his dealings with a lot of the wars that he regrets, to bring us the girl and wipe away the dead. Originally, that was meant to be his infant daughter, Anna. And he brought that girl to Comstock, who ended up being, the main antagonist of the game. As such, he renamed her Elizabeth, and this is now the Anna that we gave away to wipe away our debts from all that time ago. When someone is brought into another dimension, what happens to them is that things that exist in their memory sort of get recontextualized in a certain way. So, bring us the girl and wipe away the debt became not about Anna, but rescuing Elizabeth from the tower. That's why we're here in Columbia in the first place. The reason why Elizabeth lost a section of her pinky finger is because during the transfer of Anna between our reality and Comstock's reality, what ended up happening is that her pinky finger got cut off. And the reason Elizabeth has these powers is because a piece of her exists in multiple dimensions.
Are you going to open it?
It's no good. Damn it. I thought once we were here, I could fully control it.
Oh, hey, I remember this building.
What is that?
It's a key.
Oh, yes, of course, of course.
Where did it come from?
By the way, just a small plug for the Bioshock 1 run. Bioshock 1 runs are insane. You do so many wall clips, it resembles nothing like the casual game, basically. So if you like wall clipping, and you like major glitches that I was not able to exhibit in this run, then check out Bioshock 1 runs. They're really, really cool now.
All that's left is the juicing.
What are all these lighthouses? Why are we...
I'll be honest, I remain vaguely confused about the whole interdimensional stuff, but I think that's okay.
Yeah, there's only so much I can explain. Without getting into my trivia time, that is.
Fair.
Before we do the trivia, though, I do need to say that there is actually one thing that we can optimize, which is very dumb, and it's by changing Handyman Nemesis to the other gear that I picked up at the very beginning of the game called Fleet Feet. The game really restricts your forward movement here because it really wants you to experience the story, but they did not consider the fact that if you have Fleet Feet on, the boost that you get from strafing and walking backwards is still maintained. So throughout a lot of sections, see how slow I'm moving forward? If I stand here but move backwards, see how much faster I'm moving? That's the one optimization that you can really do in this final segment if you're not playing on the PC. So, congratulations, you've learned how to speedrun the walking simulator of Bioshock Infinite.
There's so many choices.
All right, next trivia question.
Where it started.
No one tells me where to go.
I'll make it a Bioshock Infinite one, which is, what was Bioshock Infinite's original project name? A. Project Hermes, B. Project Iris, or C. Project Icarus?
I'm gonna go with Icarus because it's close to the sky.
I mean, so it's Hermes, technically.
Yeah, but I feel like Icarus is a more fitting parable for.
I know this place. I was here 20 years ago, right after Wounded Knee.
Or
Like for the story of
Come on now, time.
Bioshock Infinite,
Yeah.
just being in the sky and everything. That's fair
Yeah.
enough.
Are you ready to have your past erased? Are you ready to have your sins?
We see a lot of A's and
cleansed?
C's.
Are you ready to be born again? Take
1B.
my hand.
The answer is indeed C. It was Project Icarus. You were correct. You read through my mask. Congratulations.
Are you ready to be born again?
I am.
Do you hate
One other bit of
your
lore
sin?
here is that Comstock is also
hate
Booker.
your
They come from the same person.
Do you want
Booker,
to
from his
clean
regrets
the
from all the wars that he fought in, decided to go to baptism. And in one universe, he declined the baptism, which is what we're seeing right now. However, in the other universe, he accepted the baptism, and from that moment on, became Zachary Hill Comstock. So, unfortunately, the only way to really take away all of the Comstocks in the universe, or all of the many universes, I should say, is to kill Booker at the moment of the baptism. So, if you were wondering why Booker has to die at the very end of the game, that is why.
Stock's dead.
No. He was here. This way.
Huh.
That is my very few sentence summary of the story of Bioshock Infinite.
Bring us the girl and wipe away the debt.
This is the man who hired me to find you.
So yes,
Really?
Booker's being told here to bring us the girl and wipe away the debt, which again originally meant his daughter Anna, who we see here. But we are giving Anna to Lutesses who work for Comstock, and because of that, Booker's gonna get really big regrets of doing that for obvious reasons. So he's gonna try to steal Anna back away from Comstock, but Comstock eventually
You don't leave
succeeds,
this room until you do.
Do it.
meaning that she gets renamed to
Time is
Elizabeth.
running short. Bring us the girl and wipe away the debt.
Oh yeah, spoilers by the way. Bit late now, but we're watching
well,
a speedrun stream. Like,
Go ahead.
No.
You can wait as long as you want. Eventually, you'll give him what he wants.
all right, another cutscene, another trivia question.
And what's behind all of the doors.
Um,
And behind
let's see.
one of them.
In Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is not a hero's relic in that game? A. Freikugel,
Paid.
B. Blutgang, or C.
Your sins.
Paladbolg.
Bring us the girl and
B,
wipe
you say?
away the debt.
There was no.
I'm gonna continuously ask your thought process because this is very, very important.
Booker.
the vague recollections of playing Fire Emblem Three Houses years ago.
But I remember.
Now we've upset him.
I don't expect this next.
D sounds the least familiar.
Come on.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. We
Yeah,
got
I
some
don't-
bees.
I don't
Ooh, we have
have
a
any,
mixed
like-
bag here.
I unfortunately don't have any like contextual thinking for this one.
B-A-C, B-A-Q. We got a Q. I like that.
He is alive in a million worlds.
You might be asking yourself why we're not walking backwards here. It's because this portion of the cutscene lasts too long, so we can actually make our way to the prompt without having to actually utilize the backwards momentum. The answer
Give her back! Give her back!
Fine, are you mad?
Give her back, you son
is
of a
C. It is Paladbolg. which is not the correct weapon. In fact, it's a bit of a not a gotcha, but it's a fun little thing that Khaled Bolg is the legendary weapon that Link is given in Cadence of Hyrule. So I was mixing my games up there a little bit. So there's Elizabeth's pinky coming off, or Anna's pinky coming off, or she gets renamed Elizabeth, I suppose.
That can't feel good.
It couldn't, but she also did this. I don't know if this is common in babies, but when she was reaching her arm out, she sort of stuck out her pinky, which I don't know if that's...
She wanted to do the cool rock and roll hands.
I guess.
I don't
think that would be my instinct if I was to reach out my hand. But, you know, I'm not a 3-year-old baby anymore, so maybe they know something that I don't.
For almost 20 years. Until one day, a man came to you. Offered you a chance at redemption. A chance for us to work together.
Alright, so this is where Booker's being told that the bring us the girl and wipe away the debt is being recontextualized to mean from Anna to now mean Elizabeth. Bring Elizabeth back from Columbia. I will actually take this time, since we're almost done with the run, to just do shout-outs, since this was a very, very long run, which I very appreciate all of you watching, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright, so I have been a variety pack. I will no longer stream this category. This category is dead to me, but I do stream other categories of this game, Skyward Sword HD and Bayonetta 2, as well as some other games I'm attempting to look into in the future. Thank you so much to the Bioshock community for giving me all of the knowledge that you need to do to be here, as well as my community for constantly supporting me and encouraging me to do things. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks, May, for being here in Emerlin's stead. I know that... I don't know how in advance that decision was, but if I seem to recall correctly, it's rather late for you, yes?
I mean, it would have been late for AB2, so...
That's the only way to
Alright, fair enough.
go back to when he was born.
But yeah,
Alright,
this was fun.
I'm glad. I hope people enjoyed it. So, the final thing we'll do to end off this run in style is walk backwards all the way up to the lighthouse, and I'll give you a countdown when the timer's about to go off.
I learned a lot about video games and also about dimensional travel.
Yeah. Okay. 3, 2, 1. All right. Again, thank you all for watching. I know that the RNG segments were a little bit drier than perhaps what we're used to on AIMBOT, but I hope you enjoyed everything that you saw regardless. Gunless is an interesting category, but if you're looking to speedrun this game, I would definitely look to the other categories first. Gunless is sort of a last resort one. But yeah, I'll turn it over to the host and let you be on your way.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Variety Pack. Great run, good time. We have a couple more announcements, and then we will go on our merry ways for the evening. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to press the like button on the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, go to twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick if you're interested in looking at our live content, starting weeknights at 7 Eastern and weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern. Tune back in tomorrow for more HotFix content, as always, and follow our runner. twitch.tv/A_/VarietyPack. Thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. And if you're watching from an alternate dimension where this run also happened, but things are slightly different because of small things that happened many, many years ago that Butterfly affected into something a lot more major, thanks to you too. Good night, everyone.